Hello to whoever's in. We'll get started in just a couple minutes here. Just testing it out right now, and then we'll put it out, get people in here. Oh, hey, Blee. Blee, can you hear me? All right, that means that link's working. So we should be live. So let's get this rolling. While people are loading in, feel free to ask any questions. There is about a 7-second delay from when I speak to when it goes through. So if it seems like I'm a little delayed answering, that's why. And feel free to throw a question either in the YouTube live chats or in the groupie chats, or you can DM me if you want. If you don't want your people to know your question, which will probably be most of Tidu's questions. Tidu, Tida. Still just waiting for people to load in, start asking questions. I see Bleed typing. Oh, we've got. Who is NBK Riley 18? Hi, welcome. Lee, I'm not trying to seduce you. I guess that's our first question, though, coming from Blee. Um, let's be honest here, Blee. I don't have to speak a certain way to try to seduce you. We all know you have a crush on me. Oh, it's Titus. I will be doing this however long people ask questions for. So if we get some questions rolling, I'll do this for a while. If we don't, that's fine. Handle whatever you would like. Handle, I will try to respond and group me as well. So I'm just responding to Handle there. Well, you can ask right now if you want. Easy listening on the way home. I'm just going to call you Titu on here just for fun. My favorite fantasy book. All right, that's a good question. My favorite fantasy book is I've spoke about this before in Gen Chat. It's Wizard's First Rule. It's from the Sword of Truth series for Terry Goodkind. It's the first book in the series. The series is, I want to say, I think it's 10 plus books. I really enjoy the series. I think it goes down over time. But that first book, it's very adult, has a lot of adult themes, murder, rape, even child molestation, everything like that. Not why I like it, but the story is incredibly good. The characters are very, very fleshed out. It's a huge world, and I do like it if you compare it to some of the other stuff. If you compare it to Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something like that, it is much more intended for adults. Um, Previously, I used to really like the Dragonlance series. The dragons of, I forget all the names, but Autumn Twilight or something like that, Summer Flame, whatever they were. And I read a lot of those books, and I really like that series as well. But then comparing it to the Sword of the Truth series, Sword of Truth is just written so much better and is so much more adult. Let's see. So I've got Handle. Why didn't you buy Mother Teresa? So why I didn't buy Mother Taliesin is my days of spending the big money on characters are done that way. That kind of stopped with B2 Battle Droid. For those that don't know, that weren't around that back then, they used to have something called Iridium packs, where it was a certain amount of crystals. It was like 750 crystals for the pack, but you were guaranteed a certain number of shards with a chance. It wasn't now where it's like between 10 and 330 shards. No, it was like you're going to get this exact amount of shards, but then there was that chance of getting a full drop, which would be like 20 or so shards. But that was, you also got a ton of you get crystals doing it that way. You've got a ton of credits. You got Omega Mats doing it that way as you bought the packs. So that was a pretty good deal. I mean, it would still, you could get a 7-star premium character for about $200. So I know for some of you that $200 may still sound like that's not a good deal at all in a mobile game, and that's understandable. But compared to today's prices, that was a pretty good deal. And B2 was excellent. He was a top tier character at the time. Obviously, you don't see B2 much anymore, so that if you're newer, you're not going to remember that. But they did away with the Iridium Pack shortly after that, and they also put B2 free to play maybe a month to 2 months after I did that. Previously, Iridium characters, that didn't happen. It was like 6 months plus. Like Rex had been many months before that, and Rex was still a pay to play character on there. So that was when I kind of sat back and said, all right, we're not going to do this with any more characters. And they've just gotten so much more expensive on there. Brady wants to know what my favorite Star Wars movie is. I've said this in chat. It was The Last Jedi. And I understand that for like the old school diehard Star Wars fans, I understand some of their grievances. I'm not going to go into any spoilers. I really enjoyed the movie, the new twist on it, the new spin. I felt like it was going in a different direction than just a copycat movie, which was The Force Awakens. Like, I'm just watching A New Hope over again. I have my own issues with the Star Wars movies, just some of the directing, some of the acting, just things like that. But yeah, I liked where TLJ went. I understand the negativity behind it. It's just that's going to happen when you change something like that. Pyro run Phoenix combinations with Chopper and the team, and then with Sabine. I will be honest. I've never used Sabine in Phoenix. She's like level 53 for me. I don't know if I leveled her the rest of the way, but I'd put her to level 53 for the first Territory Wars, Territory Battle. Just to have like that level 53, that was kind of the sweet spot on characters. So I can't really speak too much about her because for me she sucks. For Chopper, I don't want to always run them on full auto. Okay, just want a little strategy on there? Okay. But I mean, with Chopper, it's pretty simple. Chopper, you're going to want to taunt as often as you can. If somebody has a lot of buffs, I mean, if you need to remove a taunt, you definitely can with Chopper. Otherwise, I will save him for somebody that has a lot of buffs to remove that, since it removes that turn meter, which is nice. Kanan is next to pointless. My Kanan's fairly weak. He's only G8, which is pretty weak for a tank. Kanan is just there for his unique ability, which gives him the counter chance, and then the chance to, or the protection up. Ezra, you should know how to run Ezra. That's pretty easy. Hera, she's got the expose chance, which is nice. She can also call Ezra, which is nice. And like, if you're gonna taunt with Kanan, you can always put the it's called, the revive on him, because at least mine's probably gonna die. Zeb is kind of a power to that team. You've got the daze, you've got the stun, and then you've got the stagger, which is nice. Chopper a lot of times will assist on that, so you can stagger him instantly. So if you're using bosses, wait till their full turn meter are getting close. Do that. That's pretty nice. Other than that, just always use this protection up. There's nothing real. I don't have any real insights on there. Just if you can avoid it, don't use Ezra's middle attack unless they don't have any debuffs, so it gets that cooldown reduction. Call Zeb most of the time if they can be stunned. Otherwise, if it's someone like Sidious that one events, call Hera, because then she can do the expose. With Zeb, Kanan do protection up as much as you can. Chopper taunt as much as you can. So handle, let's see. What was my first car? Okay. When did I move to Florida? When did I move from Florida? Tito wants to know. So for those that don't know, that's kind of a running joke, because somehow in his head, Tito got it that Blee and we lived in Florida. He swears that we told him that at one point. I troll people a lot, especially Tito, so that's quite possible. J Dollars might have also done that, because that's what J Dollars does. He trolls him as well. I did live in Florida when I was very, very young. When I was like in the 4 to 5 range, I wasn't in school yet. Lived in Florida. It was cool. Got to go to Disney World a couple times down there. Went to SeaWorld. Supposed to ride Shamu at SeaWorld. So every show they do, they pick a kid, but you have to show up hours to how to ride him, because he's going to go down into the water and you hang on, and I assume there's a harness, everything like that. But I had been selected for that. I don't remember how. We didn't get there on time, which is a thing that's kind of my entire life's based on. It's being late. Mom's husband to show up late. Kid got to ride Shamu. I think my mom was more upset about it. She was pretty mad at her husband about that than I was. But obviously, it's been pretty scarring because I still remember it. So no, I'm just kidding. All right, and so I guess I moved from Florida before I started school. That's because I did live in Florida just before um, you start school when you're 6. So I was definitely back up in the Illinois, Wisconsin area by then. Fun story about Florida is I was out mowing the lawn one day with my bubble mower because again I was like 3 to 4 years old, and I had like little cowboy boots on, which is I guess probably maybe what you did in Florida. Maybe it's just what I did when I was 4. And I stepped in an ant mound. If you're not familiar with Florida ants, they call them fire ants. They're basically stinging little bastards that can fly, and they leave welts. Well, they didn't like me stepping on their mound, so they swarmed up the cowboy boots and then got down inside of it and just pinched or bit or whatever they do the crap out of my ankle and my foot. By the time we got the boot off, my entire foot was like one big pimple. I was just screaming. I mean, again, I was 3, I was 4, whatever. Okay, and so my current arena team handle Pyro. She still doesn't have any abilities, or her gear sucks. All right, so my current arena team. Let's pull up my current arena team. So we've got Ray and Jedi Training Lead. We've got BB-8. We've got R2. Got Kenobi, and then we've got Old Ben. Strengths, it holds great. Many days I still stay in the top 10 on there. So I'm liking. Sorry, Brad. I'm liking that. I should probably let's pull up my team. I took second today because I finished my battles at like 5:30. Reset at 6 my time, and honestly, I needed a nap. I've been working a ton of hours, staring at my computer screen, so my eyes needed a rest. Worked some today. Worked about 5 hours today on my day off. So strengths, it can beat anyone. I haven't really had any troubles with any team. Night Sisters are probably still the closest matches, just depending on how much they land that plague. The way I handle Night Sisters is I use BB-8 stealth, and I keep keep BB-8 unstealthed, just because he's got that 50% chance to foresight whenever he takes damage, and then whenever he does dodge, droids gain 8% health and 8% protection. So a lot of times he can just kick that plague off of himself. He makes a great tank there. Otherwise, you can always do it with Old Ben, and then Old Ben is going to on there. He's going to give him back some health and protection. But then, if you get down to the Acolyte Stealth Zombie combo, R2 hits incredibly hard on my team, thanks to Jedi Ray. So, and then BB-8 has got the Illuminated Destiny that's going to get R2 more turns. R2 lowers his cooldowns, like if he exposes or crits or whatever. So he can burn through that combo pretty quickly. But Night Sisters would be one weakness, but I win the vast majority of those battles. Sometimes I don't lose anyone. They're not really a trouble. I don't avoid them. I go for them. Um, the Old Ben, fighting the same team is interesting. There's another one on my shard. It gets a little dicey at first. I always win. It usually win without a problem, but it's just kind of funny because because my characters are faster, I go after his Kenobi first, which Kenobi's a Jedi. Ben gets turn meter when you attack a Rebel or a Jedi. So then his Old Ben goes, before mine does the whole ability block thing, gets his taunt off. So it starts off pretty slow, and it looks bad, but I always overcome. One of the things is his Old Ben doesn't have the Zeta to give him that second taunt. So as soon as Rey does her little woof thing, her little version of mind tricks, then it's no issue there. So really enjoy the team. I don't necessarily like Old Ben a ton as a fifth, just because he doesn't do anything. By the time he gets his mind tricks off, I'm already killing it on there, and then I don't even taunt with him because I just leave BB-8 with the taunt because I just love them missing so much and him gaining back his health and protection. Plus, if they do hit him, he counters, and when he counters, he calls Ray or he calls R2 for the stun. And my R2 hits hard. I've got him crit damage, crit chance set with Ray's whole thing. He hits hard. Like I've seen my R2 crit for 18k before, just on a basic. So, that's still not a bad thing to call. The other one's Luke. I don't like Luke there with all the exposes against a Ray team. Luke doesn't do a lot. Thrawn's pretty good. Han's a good fifth there. That's a good follow up question. Who would I replace Ben with if I had to? I would go Thrawn or Han on there. Tidu was talking a little bit about Ezra. That's actually pretty interesting. He's calling Ezra or calling BB-8 on the assist because then he's going to call Ray or R2. I like that idea. I don't know if Ezra has enough utility versus the straight damage, but again, honestly, you could leave the spot blank on offense. You'd still be perfectly fine on there. They're just missing that fifth piece. But when you look at most arena teams are 3 or 4, and then you throw in the fifth. The fifth doesn't always necessarily make sense. It's just something that works on there. All right, so we have a YouTube question. What teams do you recommend gearing up for Imperial Retaliation other than Bounty Hunters? If you've got Night Sisters are good. The problem with Night Sisters, obviously, they don't have the stars. Definitely recommend the Troopers. So I'll be fully honest. Everyone saw it, but I did not get an Imperial droid last time. I thought I was going to be golden. I got destroyed by that battle. JD and Bones did it. J-Dollars and Bones were the only two that did it. Framing Dragon bailed on us. Because I think J-Dollars' mom broke his heart, to be honest. So he was our Imperial probe droid before. Let me pull up my Troopers. I passed him, didn't I? Yep. So I have pretty decent gear on them. Like I was really expecting Death Trooper and Short Trooper to handle that. They're both gear 11. They're doing all right. The issue was there just wasn't any healing. I think you probably need that Zeta on Veers. As much as I hate to say that, you probably need that Zeta on Veers on there because he gives that 10% protection. So I made it through phase 1, and I think Short Trooper was dead by the end of phase 1 because there was 100,000 of those elite dudes, and everyone just countered everything. So I had to shut down all my AoEs to try to keep them alive, which obviously gave them extra attacks because I couldn't kill as fast, and it was ugly. I don't know why Brad or Miles didn't get a shard there for us because he's got the strongest troopers we have, I think, because, he was running them in arena not that long ago. He might not have Stark yet, though. That's why it's just dependent on when the guild store pops up. And Brad wants me to use my Cantina energy. I'm doing Sith Trooper. I don't know if that's real or not, that rumor, but Sith Trooper's always one I wanted anyway. It was just a matter of he's expensive, but he'll be nice for Territory Wars. I use him in my Sith team. Pyro with Keenan doing the protection up. Are you trying to keep Zeb's protection up and sprinkle it on when Chopper when need be? Yeah, pretty much exactly. Chopper's really good at keeping his protection pretty high on there, but especially if we're doing those events, Zeb, I think mine's G8 or G9, he tends to get a little hurt. So yeah, I do who's ever getting a little weak on there. Obviously, if Hera's that way, because Hera can't do the revive skill on herself, but for the most part, that's usually probably going on Zeb. Fire ants came into the U.S. from the port of Mobile. They were shown stowaways on a ship from Africa. I believe 75% sure. Well, you can definitely tell they're not indigenous to the U.S. because they're assholes, and our nature and we itself are pretty nice on here. What are your thoughts on Pickle Rick Sanchez? So I haven't seen that episode, and Rick and Morty is something that I've seen a ton of clips on YouTube, so I'm pretty familiar with the show, but I haven't actually sat down and watched a full episode. I want to. It's on my list. I plan to because what I've seen on YouTube, I enjoy a lot, and I know a lot of people enjoy it. If you haven't ever checked out, this is definitely not safe for work or anything, but if you haven't, that they did with their voices, it was fantastic. So they did Rick was the defendant, Morty was the judge, but it's an actual transcript from a court case where the defendant was just giving it to the judge, to his lawyer, done in their voices. Absolutely hilarious. On there. Alright, so handle only team I've had issue on offense with the team with Ezra instead, like you mentioned. Funny, still win, but RNG can mess me up. Yeah, RNG is the best character in the game. Especially right now, Night Sisters is a really RNG dependent team. On there, not that they're not a RNG can put them over the top. RNG you normally see more prevalently in ships. Okay, that's you rule too. Okay, best Wampa team comp. Sarah. I'm gonna punt on this one. I will be honest. I haven't put a single shard into Wampa or Hermit Yoda, so I can't answer that. I wish I could. I will be fully honest. I didn't even watch any of the videos on his damage. Bones was kind of pushing him, was like his damage looks really insane, everything like that. Where I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm not buying him right now, so I didn't even check him out. So I literally don't even know Wampa's abilities. I will, but what I'll do is I will do some checking into that, and I will get back to you. Probably won't be tonight. I'm not doing a sundown rule on that one, but I'll see what's out there and try to get back to you on that. I've read a little bit about people using him. Just he's not so far, just because his damage takes a long time to build up. More of a raid character. The raids, I barely even hit the raids anymore. That's just all you tryhards, all out getting you 20 million teams, all that stuff. Yeah, where was that when we were doing our first HAAT? Huh? Where were we then? Hey, where were you when we were doing our first ever heroic Grand Corps? I'm just giving you guys a hard time. On there, I tend to once we've got those raids on farm, I tend to not focus on the raids at all. Getting that huge damage is just not my thing. I've got plenty of first places and all that stuff when we were starting it up, or plenty of top threes when we were struggling to do those. So we can let the next generation come in, and for those who really enjoy it, can do that. Brad. So Brad's got his. Good God, we've got a Gear 12 Veers. Wow. Gear 11 Storm, Gear 11 Death, Gear 11 Snow, and Gear 11 Magma. And it's probably because of your Shore Trooper and your Stark. I doubt you use Shore Trooper, but he's pretty important there, especially with those counters. I tried talking Brad out of Magma forever. I tried talking everyone out of Magma Trooper forever. Obviously, you can see how well that worked. If you're in GroupMe on there, he's got a Gear 11 Magma Trooper. Magma Trooper is a character I was really excited about when he came out, because I wanted, my plans at the time were to have an AoE team. If you're not familiar with AoE, it means area of effect. Some people consider it like effect on everything or attack on everything. But I was going to do like Anakin for his leadership, gave damage up, I think. Or maybe Sidious for his leadership with the crit damage. So you have Sidious, you have Anakin, you have Magma Trooper. Who else? Oh, Kylo was going to be on there. He's got that AoE. And I had great plans for when Magma Trooper came out. This was based on the rework they did with the characters, where they said, hey, slower characters are going to do more damage, and faster characters aren't going to do much damage. That whole rework that they did, we all know that absolutely did not happen. That's not what happened whatsoever. Your fast characters and your damage dealers were still your damage dealers. They basically, what happened is they nerfed Yoda big time. Yoda was going to be in there too, yeah. At the time, Yoda had the strongest AoE in the game. So a lot of people didn't know this about Yoda. Yoda was a crazy little attacker. So Yoda had the strongest AoE in the game, where he steals the buffs. His third ability, where he can stun people, I think was like the sure attack. If you put in Rey's and some other people's, like with her Omegas, it became strong. 5 regular attack for strength, and then his basic attack was like 13th, which he gave himself foresight. So he didn't have a lot of health, but he was fast. He hit pretty hard, all that. They nerfed Yoda into oblivion with that move. So it was Yoda, Anakin, Magma Trooper, whoever else I said. The cool thing about Magma Trooper is his basic could hit multiple people. His AoE was going to ignore armor on there. That was going to be super cool. Like, hey, this could do a lot of damage. Except for ignore armor meant he absolutely had 0 chance to crit. And then he came out and he needs something like 150 million Mark IV laptops, which now isn't that big of a deal, but back then was huge. I think he needs like 300 plus purples. I know we've moved on to golds now, but back then his gear was atrocious. Handle, I might try out Ezra, um, based on that. And Tito doesn't know anything about anything, but he does manage to get first in arena just because he like sponges off of me. I'm just kidding. I'm interested in the Ezra thing. I just don't know if I want to put Ezra to gear 12. I'm not actually actively working on anyone to gear 12 right now. I've been working on my Night Sisters because they are a great team, even at lower stars on there. I had to stop them to work on my troopers because Bones is like, hey, you're going to need these guys gear 9 to do this battle. It's a tough battle. So I started working on the troopers. That completely didn't work out at all. So I'm probably going to keep working on those until I feel more comfortable with those till the next Imperial Retaliation because I do want that IPD shard. I want to help out the guild as best I can, and then I want it for myself. Like, I'm the guild leader. We've got a couple people getting that IPD shard, and I'm not getting it. Like, I should be getting that, you know? Um, but it's also supposed to be IPD sounds like he could be in some really cool combos. I've always had a soft spot for droids on there, and I think droids are going to be making a comeback because I do think Revan is coming back. I don't know if those are going to be the requirements, but I mean, I've been telling people Revan was coming back in spring for a while on there, and that droids, we're going to see something with droids. And I still say that a droid team could take number one right now. They would not hold in defense, and I'm not recommending them on there because you're going to need lots of gear, everything like that. But I think the old HK 80, 88s, B2, and then R2 BB8s, I think that could be a ton of fun. BB-8's going to give all the droids a ton of turn meter at the beginning, so they're automatically going to go first, and then they're going to crit a ton. Problem you have there is with Kenobi giving crit immunity, so they're not doing any damage, they're not gaining their turn meter. But then you have B2 there that's hopefully landing some buff immunity to keep that taunt away and to keep that crit immunity down. So, you know, for some of those characters, they can take a couple turns before the other team even moves. Yeah, it would be dicey. I'm not going to say it's going to be the greatest team, but I still think they could hit number one. I'm not going to put the gear into them right now, but I think droids. I think you'll see a revival of droids in spring. Have I seen IPD with Jedi in Training Rey? I haven't. I've heard good things on there. It makes sense. I'll be honest. IPD is another one. I know he does an explosion. I haven't actually looked at his abilities because I don't have him. Let's see. Can I see his abilities? Pyro, I'll get to your question about ships on there. Pyro asked the toughest questions on ships. Let's just do this. 80% chance to expose him for 2 turns. Yeah, that's pretty nice. If we're talking Jedi Rey. Dispel all buffs. I mean, anytime you have a dispel all buffs, well, that's one of the things that made Baze so amazing. I mean, lots of things made Baze amazing back in the day, but an AOE dispel, are you kidding me? That's a really nice skill. All right, can't be revived. 10% of their max health. That's pretty big. This attack can't be evaded. Don't be able to shed full health or has no active allies. It's set to max and can't be reduced. So if he's the last one left, he can't do it, and if he has full health, he can't do it. So he needs to be hurt in order to do that. But oh god, yeah. So you just use R2 on him. They go after him right away, and assuming that he survives at least a little bit, you can pop that one off right away. What is massive damage? Is that like Savage? That's how you pronounce it, by the way. It's not Savage Opress like it reads. It's Savage. Does that mean he deals like the 99,999? And that would be. I'm liking this little dude. And again, I've heard good things. I just haven't looked at him because I don't have him. Droid ally turn at the end of each Empire ally turn at the end of each Rebel enemy turn. Gains 1% turn meter. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. He fit nice in a droid team. If you're looking at a Rey team, that's 3%. Wait. Oh, he just gains 1% turn meter. So at the end of his turn, at the end of our, he gains a percent, and then at the end of any empire and any rebel. That's, I mean, that's not my. Oh God, I should look at the last one, idiot. 50% max health. He gains 3% turn meter. And target locked enemies have. Ooh, they have buff immunity for target locked enemies. That's pretty sweet. Buff immunity is very powerful. Did I look at the last ability for this? Yeah, 30% of their max health. Exposed target locked enemies. I don't think I clicked on the last thing on there. I mean, 75% chance to inflict target lock. 5%. Yeah. He's gonna be a killer. Yeah, I know. Yub. I remember Bones talking about that. Yub just put in the YouTube live chat that he can make IPD self-destruct on turn 1. Yeah, so I know he's a good character. That's really good. So yeah, I definitely want to get that shard. So I'm gonna be going all in on. I was anyway. It's not like that changed my mind all of a sudden. I'm gonna be going all in on Imperial Troopers until the next Imperial Retaliation. Yep, and I see Handle put it in chat there as well. Problem with that is that you have to run Palps, and the rumors are coming out that Palps is going to get a Zeta. You know, the Vader Zeta. Palps is supposed to be getting a Zeta forever, so I'm not going to put too much into that. Palps also, that's good on offense, but unless they change his AI, he doesn't do that move first on defense unless he's pretty hurt. He does his shock first, or his AoE stun, which makes perfect sense. And what I would say on that is lots of things went on offense. Lots of things. It's really just your defense, but yeah, it's a cool combo for sure. All right, top 20 squad that does not use TIE fighters with Mace as the capital. We just need 5-star Stark for IPD node. Yes, but you need strong Imperial Troopers, probably the Zeta and Veers on there. If you saw my Imperial Troopers, I didn't do it. If you see Brad's, if you scroll up and group me just a little bit, you see Brad's there. Brad didn't do it. He also doesn't know how to play the game, so that's not really a surprise at all. He sucks at everything. I know Brad in real life. Unfortunately, that's kind of his claim to fame. All right, so it doesn't use TIE fighters with. How about it does not use Mace as the capital ship either? So my experience with Mace is just pretty low on there, but I'm going to pull him back up just so I can go back over his abilities here. I don't even have them all maxed just because. Alright. Yep. That's a super. Yep. That one gets resisted pretty much all the time. Valor's his cool thing. So he gets going a ton. 80% offense, doubled for Republic allies. Honestly, Obi-Wan is the one to talk to about this. What I would say, if you're not using ties with Mace, you'd want to use clones. You'd want to use the high health ships, extend that battle out longer, and then he can keep giving them back protection on there. What's his face? Plo Koon is probably pretty nice there because then you've got Mace inflicting the talent, recovering protection on who you want, and then Plo Koon can also give that talent off, and then he gives speed up as well. So that would be what I would do with Mace. And again, Obi-Wan can answer that better. Obi-Wan, I don't know if he's still running Mace, but he ran Mace for a long time. I would run clones on there, even maybe a couple of those ships, but definitely clones have that high health on there. So Rex was a ship I ran in the very beginning. Rex is a pretty good ship. Brad, you didn't win the shard because you suck at life. The IPD shard. The problem I have with Rex is, I mean, he's got the target lock on his basic, which is awesome if they don't have any buffs or debuffs, but it seems like it gets resisted nonstop. And as I've talked about before, if you watch my YouTube stuff, the whole potency tenacity thing probably doesn't really matter. You should still be able to debuff. But yeah, Rex gets resisted nonstop on his basic. I ran him in my main when I first started doing ships. My claim to fame in ships is when ships came out, I held first place for over 24 hours on there. I haven't done that since, obviously, but that was nice. Didn't even have to battle. Had to battle just to get that achievement or the daily thing. Yub says there's an IPD on his shard now. He's a total dickhole. I can believe that. What team does he? What do they run him? Yep, are they running with Jedi Ray or? So Obi-Wan is answering. I was gonna say Bistan because Bistan, his ship's really good. I don't have him. I'm not gearing him, but one of the teams that used to give me the most trouble had Bistan on there just because he's stupid. Yep, I would agree with that. With what Obi said about the target lock. Okay, so Obi-Wan's moving away from the clones. I can definitely get behind that just because the clone ships aren't necessarily the best on there. So if you're not paying attention to GroupMe, if you're just on YouTube, Obi-Wan answered with Bistan, Phoenix, Biggs, and Millennium Falcon. Millennium Falcon's ship is fantastic on there. It really is. If it stays alive, it's a game changer. What it does on offense is kind of stupid, just because once it gives itself those stacks on offense, it will use that to attack a bunch of times in a row, which is great for killing bigs. But the real key is that AOE. I mean, I've seen that AOE. I've seen hit for 40k plus, and that's hitting everyone. That's a great ship to keep on your B team for territory wars. I get those confused a lot. Millennium Falcon was basically my guy on there. I took out one of their strongest last territory, one of their strongest Tarkin ships, just because that AOE just demolished people. Put some stealth on him, get the stacks on him, you know, so he's got all those buffs, and then just crushed it. And Obi-Wan is typing probably faster than I can speak on there. Yes, stealth Millennium Falcon, and he can one hit the entire squad. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a great ship to have on your thing. My cat just jumped up on the desk, so if you hear commotion, that's Rue. While we are, so I think I'm out of questions. I hope that answers that. So I will just talk for a little bit while we wait for the questions to come in. Speaking of total dickholes, Yub, that's you, buddy. That's you. You know what you did. No, I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed, which is probably worse. I don't want you to cut yourself or anything, but I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Definitely disappointed. Brad doesn't even know what we're talking about, so don't pay attention to him. Obi-Wan and Yub, I love their relationship. Yub is like the redheaded stepchild, and Obi-Wan just beats the hell out of him on there. I don't know if Yub is still listening. Have I tried Tide Pods? Who is your favorite officer in the Pacific time zone? Let's see. What officers do we have? So we have J Dollars, we have Bones, we have Obi-Wan, we have Desmurray, we have Blee. God, I hope that's all of them. I think that's everyone, right? Yeah. And then Obi-Wan's the only one in Pacific, so I'm gonna say it's you, Obi-Wan. Have you tried Tide Pods? No, I don't do a ton of laundry. I'll be honest. My girlfriend does the laundry on there, and it's not necessarily any aversion to it. I actually taught her how to do laundry when we moved in together, but she's admitted to me that she kind of enjoys doing the laundry. The issue we have with laundry is she's got like that delicate stuff and stuff that she pulls out and all that. I just throw everything in together. So she doesn't want me doing her laundry because she says I don't know what to pull out. This is getting dicey. I don't know which clothes to take out of the washer or the dryer, or when to take them out, whatever. And I'm like, fine, I'll just do mine. That's no biggie. And then she's like, no, because that's just a waste. If you're just doing it without doing mine, I'll just do the laundry. I hope that answered your question. Back to your actual question, have I ate any Tide Pods? No. So that started as a meme because it's just joking on the fact that they're so colorful and they look like candy. And now it sounds like people are actually doing it. So the people that kind of have been doing the meme forever are saying, hold on, I gotta get my cat down. She's chewing on nonsense because that's what she does. Down her, she's also sitting on my iPad. Down you go. They're delicious, Brad. I believe that on there. But now you've got people actually doing it, and the meme people are like, no, no one's actually doing this. That you guys are idiots. That's us joking. And then the news is like, no, kids are actually doing it. I have tried Comet. Comet's actually fairly tasty in small amounts. Burns a little bit, but that was when I was much, much younger. On there, I think Yub might have dropped off. Yub isn't with us anymore. At least he hasn't. He's either cutting himself or just hasn't responded on there. And Pyro is just asking Obi-Wan questions right now. Is there another ship that can replace him? I forgot Biggs is the tank for the ties. Why would you want to replace Biggs in that lineup? Because you've still got the taunts. You've still got target locks on there. Oh, are you saying you're using Biggs? Are you talking about Territory Wars where you're using Biggs for a different lineup? Then I'm going to throw this out there, maybe Plo Koon, because he can force a taunt, but I'll let Obi-Wan respond because I'm not real sure what you're saying, Pyro. I'm thinking you're talking about Territory Wars where you're trying to make multiple lineups. Correct me if I'm wrong. Silence. Oh, you still on? Still on that. One sec, while I check. Sorry, I'm just checking other chats on there. Who's better to use the ties on, Tarkin or Thrawn? Well, I mean, so with Tarkin, the whole idea, I don't actually like Tarkin's capital ship. I actually hate it. It's useful. Don't get me wrong. I ran it for a long time. Took first every day with it. The thing I don't like about Tarkin ship is you're basically just playing this game of, hey, who gets off their ultimate first on there. So TFP is definitely great there because he's what lets you get off your ultimate first. The Vader's also really good because he kills the other TFP so they can't get off their ultimate. I like Thrawn. I just like Thrawn ship a lot better. That TIE Fighter pilot is more important to Tarkin ship, but I prefer Thrawn ship quite a bit better. Like Thrawn ship, you can do other stuff without TIE Fighter pilot. With Tarkin ship, you need to get the ultimate off. That's the entire goal. And if you're on defense, they're obviously not going to let you. TFP is what now and then lets you win that RNG. Yeah, I hear you, Pyro. I hear you there. Let's see. Let's see if we can get any Womprats in here. Let me put this out there. If you're not in Womprat chat, I'm over in there. Alright, still waiting for Tito to get home. Tito's my question guy. That's true. Obi-Wan says you can use a bunch of your higher health and heals to 5 to ultimate, so you could use probably like your clones and stuff like that, like what I said with Mace. You could use that with Tarkin. That's true on there. I'll be honest. I have not experimented that much with the different ships on there. Framing Dragon was usually fairly good for that. It's because the ship meta for Arena, and I understand what you're trying to do, Pyro, is trying to split them up, which is a really good idea. I appreciate you doing that. The ship Arena, the meta there, has just stayed the same. It's been the Ties and Vader, or not the Ties and Biggs. Vader came in once he became strong enough. I now use TIE Reaper on there, but it's let's pull up ships. You still see a lot of Biggs on there, but I didn't battle in ships today, so I'm pretty low. I haven't actually been battling in ships the past few days. Normally, I stay usually in the top 10 in ships, but once you start dropping out of there, and I just haven't been on it. I did one battle today. Somebody beat me back, I see. I don't even think I got paid out for ships today to get top 20. Like I said, I took a nap. My eyes were getting fuzzy. 40 plus hours at the computer screen, just working a lot of extra hours right now. But we can still get an idea. You still see Vader with fives up there. There's a Mace in the starting lineup, or not a Mace, a Maul. That doesn't belong anywhere in the starting lineup, but whatever. That made it. So I don't mention to other ship combos, just what I usually see. On there. Looks like we got some Womp Rats. Pop Tito wants to know, you got pulled over on the way home? Did you get a ticket? I'm sorry to hear that. Did you play sports in high school? No, I didn't. Um, I should have on there. Um, basketball. I played basketball in junior high. Whoop whoop, junior high sports. But the whole waking up at 5:30 in the morning thing and going out to run every day, uh, that turned me off. Also, part of my class. So I'm from a small town. My graduating class was 40. My class was terrible at sports, and I mean literally terrible. I played in sixth and seventh grade. We didn't win a single game in basketball. At some point in high school, my class hit 0 and 100 in basketball. We just, yeah, I don't know what it was. We just weren't good. Baseball, I played up until I think right before Pony. I don't even remember what years that was, but the coach was our principal, and the assistant coach was our guidance counselor. They were both dicks, to be perfectly honest about it. They didn't make it any fun. The most fun we had playing baseball is where like fathers would sub in and be the coach because they were busy. Then we'd have a good time. A lot of times we'd win because we were a lot more loose, things like that. So that wasn't any fun. Football, uh, football is one of those things. By the time football rolled around, I'd gone to a mini camp for a week long for eighth grade on there, out in the heat, out in the sun. I, I'm 6'3", 6'5", depending on if I'm standing up straight. You know, offensive line, defensive line was my calling on there. I was like, that's just not very much fun to me. That's a lot of running. That's a lot of time invested. All that stuff on there, and it's not a ton of fun. The 2-a-days and all that stuff. So I skipped football as well. That was always one of those things that I always kind of regretted on there, and I even talked to the coach a little bit about getting back in there. So I was like, hey, and I told him, like, give me one shot at running back. Just in practice, give me one carry. Running back, fullback, whatever. Just give me the ball one time. And he's like, nope. I'm like, all right, I'm not going out next year. Because he always talked to me about going out on there. I was fairly strong. Like I said, I'm pretty tall. I'm not a, so I like to think back about football. But when I think back, I'm always the running back. That or defensive line would have been fun. It would have been fun to sack the quarterback. But yep, football I skipped out on. I would have definitely played football if you could skip the practice for the most part and just go out and play. That's what I love doing. I love playing. The name's fairly offensive, so I'm not going to say it's in this day and age. But back in the day when you would all get together and one guy would have the football and everyone would try and go tackle him, or when you just play pickup football, I absolutely love playing it. I love playing football. I don't love practice. I'm like Allen Iverson. I don't like practice at all. You pass the truck in a no passing zone. Why? So you have a CDL, you drive trucks for a living, and so you're a worse driver than what you should be, and he let you off. I mean, I'm glad he let you off on there. I would have made a great center. Yeah, that's where um, I feel like there's a joke coming in here. Yep, there we go. But that's actually in the mini camp. That's what they were grooming me for was center. They wanted me to be the next center. Um, Center's boring as hell. You see, you got to snap the ball, so you're already vulnerable. Your head's up. You're already vulnerable to the rest of it. It's just not an exciting position. I wanted an exciting position. If you're gonna put in all that work, I wanted fame and glory, and I'm a self. How do the clones work with Akbar? Uh, Rex works, I think, fairly well on any team. Fives works with Akbar just because Fives is probably your best clone ship. I think J Dollars was running Plo for a while on there. Akbar is just Akbar. I don't know. Since his ultimate isn't that great. I mean, he can deal some damage. His ultimate is just it was great at the time. Just that you get off all those extra skills. I don't know that the clones have that good of skills. to really get off. If you can get a lot of target locks on there, if you can get those target locks with the basic on Rex, and then get off Fives' thing, I mean, that's definitely going to work with. How would you get out Chimera with the ties and bigs or with Tarkin Stand? Oh, the ties and bigs are with Tarkin Stand on there. Nice. Verify Sunfac is the fifth, please, Obi-Wan. Yeah, I'll let Obi-Wan. He can look at their abilities and whatnot. I use Sunfac in my second team in Territory Wars just because he's a tank, especially if you're going against anyone who does group buffs on there. So he's going to taunt a lot, like Thrawn or anything like that. All right, Tito's here. That's what we like to see. If you could meet any person alive or dead, who would it be and why? That's a good question. That's the one I wasn't expecting. Alive? Let's go alive first. You know, Michael Jordan's always been my sports hero, and I hear he's kind of an asshole, but I think it'd be cool to hang with Jordan on there. But I would also say on there, former President Obama, and I'm not going to get into politics on there, but just there's a lot of things that I would like to ask him. Just why he did certain things, why he didn't do certain things. And again, I'm not going to go into politics, but this is true of any president on there, that you've made campaign promises and then things changed. And just why that happened. Did it just not work out? Did you learn new information when you were in office that caused you to have different views, like about our foreign policy, things like that? I think that'd be a really interesting story, just some of the challenges and things like that you have being the first African American president, what you saw on there, like from the horse's mouth, not from what the media reports thing on there. So I think that would be really interesting. Dead, I would say Einstein, but I think Einstein might be such a eccentric character that I don't know that I would learn a ton from him. I've always been a big fan, but I feel the best way about that. How about I'm not going to get religious, but how about Jesus? Jesus would be pretty cool to meet, see what Jesus was all about. I don't care if you're religious or not. There is a Jesus in the history books that was a leader. Obviously, if you're not religious, he wasn't the son of God. And again, I'm not going to get into that either way, but it sounds like Jesus probably existed on there in history. So just to see what that was all about, Jesus would be pretty cool to meet. And Pyro's talking about ships. PS start Rancor. I'll let one of the other guys handle that. Why is Baked your favorite Canadian? Is your name Bjorn? Because your name's Bjorn. Because that just screams Canadian or Icelandic or whatever. Why is Baked my favorite Canadian? Because to be honest, there's a lot of celebrities that are pretty cool that are Canadian, but once I find out they're Canadian, I instantly dislike them. I'm just kidding. Baked, because Baked is someone that has differing views than me, but we can talk about them without either one of us getting angry or anything like that, and I appreciate that. I don't allow politics in Gen Chat, we know that, and because I think politics can be very divisive, and I'm much more interested in being inclusive. But that doesn't mean I'm not political. I'm very political. Don't ask me about it, because I probably won't talk about it. But I'm typically not interested in someone's point of view. I don't care if you're on the A or the B side, or number one or number two, or if there's multiple sides. I don't really care where you are. What I'm more interested in is why you are that way, and I'm always interested in people's life's experiences that lead them to that way, because before I try not to judge people. Some things I'm definitely going to judge people on. If somebody's racist or something like that, I'm definitely going to judge them, but I'm not one to just scream that they're racist, things like that, to begin with, until I know a little bit more about them, just because they feel a certain way. Because everyone's life experiences can be very different. Even I'm from the North. Even, for instance, what you were taught in school in the South, you might have been taught completely different things than what I was taught. And we in the North say, well, our version of history is right. But part of that is because we won the war. I was talking about that at work with somebody from the South today. You know, the South removing all the statues, things like that. So I like Baked. He is my favorite Canadian. We'll throw that out there since he asked the question, because we can have pretty good discussions without, I think, really worrying about the other person's going to get pretty upset or anything like that. If you could wake up tomorrow and be anything, you'd be. I would want to meet Nikola Tesla for dead and Neil Tyson for alive. Tyson went over. I thought about Tyson. The thing about Tyson, I don't know. Tyson's a pretty cool dude on there. I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, but I mean, obviously he's very intelligent. I don't necessarily agree with all of his politics. I don't disagree with all of his politics. We're not going to go there, but I don't know that he would really be that interesting apart from being really smart. I feel like I could watch him on TV and just learn the same things about him on there. Like, because he's so upfront, like, you could ask him, like, what do you think about all these people being, against global warming when you're for global warming? He'll tell you that on video and he'll yell about it. So I don't know if you're going to get a ton of insight on there. So if I could wake up tomorrow and be any profession, anything, what would it be? I'm not musically inclined, so that's not a rock star isn't there. I'm too old for sports now. But I'm not too old. You got guys playing into their 40s like Brady, things like that. I'm 36 on there. I mean, those would be definitely childhood dreams. But a more realistic one. Now, this is going to sound bad. Framing gives me a lot of crap for this because I have a YouTube channel, and I say, hey, people, if you want to come watch, if you guys want to watch my videos, that's cool. I enjoy making them on there. If you don't want to watch, like, I'm not upset by it. My channel's not paid. I don't make any money off of it or anything like that. A lot of the videos I put out are unlisted to where you have to have the link to even find that. They're not even shown on my channel. Usually, if I mention like a specific guild or something, or if it's a strategy for territory where I don't want to see that. But a YouTube star would be fun on there, making money for making videos, because I do enjoy making videos. Don't worry, you're not going to see any ads on my videos or anything like that, but you ask me anything on there, I just think making that content, because part of that is if you're getting a lot of views, you're making content that people enjoy seeing. So I think that would be cool. I would combo with that, like, I would like to be a food reviewer on there. And those two things could go hand in hand, like a YouTube food reviewer. But I enjoy food. I enjoy going to new places on there. The issue with me and food reviews, because I now and then I'll type something about on Facebook and talk about food. And people are like, oh, you should do food reviews. You should do food reviews, because your friends are always the nicest. Like, everyone's got those people on their Facebook that, like, if you show any interest in anything, like if you wrote a poem, everyone's like, you should write a book of poems, because they just think, they're encouraging and things like that. But if you go back, there was a Simpsons episode where Homer was a food reviewer, and he was so popular because he loved everything. He just wrote these glowing reviews about everything, and that's why he was so popular. When people made him start writing negativity, like not just writing glowing reviews, he lost all his popularity. I'm not that glowing guy. Like, I will pick you apart on there, because I think there's certain things that just you should have in a restaurant. Things should be done in a certain way. People are paying good money for food on there, and if I can make it better at home, and I'm not $J, I'm not baked, I'm not the super good cook or anything, but there's just some basics to food prep and things like that. If I can make it better at home, we have a problem on there. So I will rip plays apart. Now I will give out, if it's good, man, I'll tell the world about it. Like, I'll put it on Facebook, like I'll take pictures, like it's really good. But I tend to rip apart a lot of places that people really enjoy, like a lot of local places. The food here locally is pretty much crap. I'm really close to Iowa. There's not a lot of good places, but people just light them up. And my favorite restaurant is like Los Aztecas, which is a local Mexican joint. Yeah, it's Mexican food. You can get fairly cheap Mexican food, and it's decent. You get some fajitas, whatever. It's junk. compared to anything actual. So I think that would turn off a lot of people on a food reviewer on there. Hopefully that answers it. Let's see if we have anything in. Yeah. Yeah, Brad's right. I do love to argue on there. Um, it's just fun for me. I believe that if you're not in good, he just likes to argue. Don't let him lie. He would have lettered in the debate team. I also like to lie a lot too. That's fun for me too. But I usually lie to people. I always tell them the truth just to let them know, like, hey, I was lying the whole time. Tito's got probably a lot of experience with that. I would have absolutely gone out for the debate team in high school if there was one, because I love debating. I think the best way to understand a topic, if you're on one side, I think the best way on any issue to understand it is to play that devil's advocate, to join the other side and make those arguments. One, you learn which arguments to pick apart. You learn which arguments to defend against if someone does that to you. But then two, it also can force you to do research and get aside your confirmation bias. If you're not familiar with confirmation bias, it's when somebody does a Google search and they take the top hit. Yep, that agrees with what I thought, so it must be true. On there, it forces you to get aside that and look at the actual stats, and maybe it changes your mind. But yeah, so I do love to argue. On there, people tend to hate to argue with me just because I don't stop. Belize said that a ton of times. All right, what's your top 5 things to do on your bucket list? I'm not a big bucket list guy. My mortality is that's not something I really think about because I'm one of those guys that's like I'm never gonna die. My basic thing on that is it takes a second to die. I've been alive for like I don't know, probably a couple million seconds right now, so the odds are with me that that's just gonna keep happening. But some things I would like to do. Most people are gonna say travel. I'm not a huge traveler, so I will talk a little bit. Probably throw in some travel. My most recent thing is I have the quad decker pizza on there. So that's something I kind of got away from eating pizza on there. Um, but I had this goal, and it's still in the planning phases. I still think about it now and then of a quad decker pizza. So what that is, you've got 3 crusts on there, and then you've got another crust that completely wraps the entire pizza like a pie or like a puff pastry on there. So like you cut into that, and then you've got this actual pizza down there. And this was kind of going back on the restaurant thing. Some of the things restaurants do wrong, like one, you cannot have pepperoni under the cheese. I will slam you for having pepperoni under the cheese because that's a basic thing. And people are like, well, what's the difference? When you put pepperoni under the cheese, it never cooks the pepperoni. It's just warming up the pepperoni. It's like putting it in the microwave for a couple seconds. It warms it up. It never gets that crispy. It never gets that cooked. It lets all that grease just sit under the cheese and the sauce on there. You've got to have your pepperoni on top of the cheese. It gets that nice crispy and a little bit burnt there, which is good. But when you're talking about a quad decker pizza, you're not going to get that because it's inside all this crust and everything like that. So anytime I make a multiple crust pizza, the toppings that need a little bit more cooking, like maybe the mushrooms, maybe the pepperoni, things like that, I cook those up separate. Maybe not all the way, but I at least get those cooked and then put them on the pizza. So yeah, I mean, you got to think about this stuff. The quad decker pizza, that's a thing you got to think about. What is the current meta on Sith and Empire? Seems like it's about time for DS meta change. What combinations are effective now and why? Sith and meta, that's no thing. It's been there shortly. Um, I'm laughing at Obi-Wan's comment there. Just dark side and meta, like I've been around long enough. Man, dark side is you had Maul, but way back in the day you had Sidious lead, but you were still probably running Jedi with Sidious lead. The dark side is the whole Imperial retaliation thing. They're getting us to farm dark side, which I mean is not a bad idea. By them, get people to spend more money on things or to round out rosters. But I know people are like, "Hey, I think the dark side's coming back to the meta." No, I guess droids were dark side on there. They were meta for a while. I don't know if they were ever meta, but they were really strong for a while. Rebels are. I always have a hard time telling people to go dark side for anything arena. If you're already there, great, but Rebels just keep coming and they just keep making more Rebels. If you notice when they make new movies, what comes out of those new movies? So if you look at our recent characters that came out, Finn and Poe got reworked. You've got BB-8s on there. R2 was in the movie. We'll call him a recent character from the movie. Rey, Jedi Training came out from a movie. Yeah, you've got Phasma came out from a movie. Kylo, the new unmasked Kylo, who might be good, but he's a paywall character, so we're not really sure yet. I haven't really seen him too much. Again, not a character I've looked at his abilities, but I know his leadership ability is cool, but I haven't paid attention because he's not really a character I have. So they love Rebels. Rebels are always coming on there. But answer your question, Thrawn. Thrawn is good there. I think IPD might do some work on there. I just don't know if there is a meta for Darkseid. Sarah is probably running it. Back before it was Thrawn, Lean, Short Trooper, Death Trooper, Krennic, and RG was in there. Some other people were in there. I guess I'm thinking Empire and Sith. I mean, Darkseid is going to be Night Sisters if you move that all out to all out there. So Rage asks, can you explain the difference between quantum physics and quantum field theory? I hope that's an actual can I? And my answer is no, I cannot. But I'll get back to you on that on there. I hope you're not actually asking for an explanation, just asking if I have the ability to or not. Let's see. Top 5 things to do on my bucket list. We'll get back to that one. What's your favorite animal, not limited to just domestic ones? That's a polar bear. I love bears. I have a big thing with bears. They're so sweet. They just love bear hugs. And there I've always said my preferred way to die is a bear hug. I know that's people are like, bear hug? Like a bear mauling is going to be really, really painful. You're not going to die right away. Yeah, deal with it. I love bears. So that would be my favorite animal. So polar bear, grizzly bears are really cool. I get a little when guys go out and hunt the black bears. I get pretty pissed on there. You see those on ESPN. They're hunting with the bow and arrow. Because my thing is man, if you're gonna go hunt a bear, make your own equipment, make a knife. If you go hand to hand with that bear, and let's see it. That's just my own personal thing, but yeah, and especially the black bears are the babies of the bears, and they're going after them. What's my favorite part about being a guild leader? Boss and Blee around. That's a pretty simple one. No, a favorite part about being a guild leader is I just think it's so cool. And not even being a guild leader, I just think what we have is so super cool. We've got people from all over the world, all over the United States, different viewpoints, things like that just come together for a mutual goal. And yeah, I would say it's a symbiotic relationship with the guild. You get the energy to get the coins. The guild launches raids that gets you rewards. You participate in those raids to get rewards. But even outside the game, I think our chat is really amazing. I've always been, in my younger years, somewhat of an elitist. So I've played online games before. I played Ultima Online a ton. And the biggest guild I was ever in UO was 4 people. And 3 of them were people I knew in real life. Because it's just, I think you get that many people, you're just going to run into a lot of people that just you don't like. That just aren't very good, and I think we've done a really good job of avoiding that. We're really good together. So that's not even being part about being the guild leader. It's just part of just being a part of all this. Being able to see I lead that. It's not. I joke that I'm a guild leader on my business cards and things like that. It's just really cool to think hey, we started this. I didn't start it alone. And I definitely couldn't have done it without a lot of people and really everyone, a lot of the cool people in here because we all contribute our own thing. It's just really cool. I will also answer that. What's my least favorite part about being a guild leader? An even better question, Blee, even though you didn't ask it, but I'll answer that as well. My least favorite part about being a guild leader is tracking people down on there to, deploy or that conversations that if you've ever had one with me, that hey, your coins are low or things like that. I don't enjoy that on there. One, I don't like doing the work of tracking people down. Like I want to play the game and I just want to know like everyone else on there. But that's part of being the guild leader is going back and doing that stuff, or being an officer in general. But I don't like having those conversations at all because like at the end of the day, I understand that this is a game and people have real life going on, and like here I am coming like, hey, you missed your deployments or you did that stuff. So I try not to do that like until it gets um, it's happening a lot. Same with coins. Like if you miss a day on coins, that's cool, and there's people that tell me, and that's awesome. But it's like when people are continuously low, and it's just I always try to ask, like, is there anything I can help with? Sometimes people didn't understand how coins worked on there. That was a thing where people like thought that their galactic war battles were getting them their 600 coins if they're at the top of the leaderboard, that stuff like that. But if you got something going on, like you're on vacation, like cool, just tell me about it. You know, you're starting a new job, cool. Um, and I just hate having those conversations because at some point, yes, we do need to pick those coins back up. Like relationship, we've got 50 other guild members, so I would love to just like I would love to carry people. Like I get way over 600 energy a day. I think that's a change that they should make. Where if I get 1200 energy, you know, then that makes up for somebody that was busy and got that zero that day, and then we could really get rid of some of that because like I just like the personalities of people on there. But yeah, if you're gonna miss coins or something, I understand. It's just when it's happening repeatedly, that's when I have a hard time stepping in and be like, we need you to pick up, or we're gonna need to do something else on there. I mean, I will. We've booted people before for coins. We've moved people around to a different guild for things like that. But I want to give people that chance first. It has to be usually pretty bad, or that no good reason. Or typically what we see on that is people just they're just not playing the game that much, and that's what I want to check in with. Like, hey, is this a real life thing? Or like, are you just getting bored with the game, or where they're like, yeah, I'm just hanging on because of the guild or something like that. What can I help with? Um, Handles his orca or bust. He's going for the whales. Polar bears actually hunts. Was it baby belugas? I mean, I shouldn't say in like next to holes in the ice, and they try to grab them as they come out on there. Tita's giving it to Yub. Yub is gone, so Yub bailed earlier. Have I ever been arrested? And is a funny story worth sharing? LOL. No, I've never been arrested. Um, have I done things illegal that I could be arrested for? Sure. I mean, everyone has, but not at, if you think about the percentage of how many things you do that were illegal that you could have been arrested for, and that percentage, like it's not like a very high percentage. Like if you're gonna get busted 1% of the time, it's not like I kept pushing that. I did get a ride home in a cop car one time. Bones is here. I did get a ride home in a cop car one time. I was out drinking. I was in Nora. So Nora is this local town of like 300 people that was like 6 miles away from my town. The claim to fame in Nora was the bar could stay open till 4 a.m. So everyone came around from Nora. The bars everywhere else closed at 1 a.m. Everyone went to Nora, drank until 3:30 or whatever. Went home. A buddy gave me a ride home back to my car in Warren, which is again the hometown I'm from, a town of like 1,600 people, and it was kind of parked in the middle of town. And I got out, and I was feeling great, you know, um, and I went to unlock my car, and I realized there was a cop car. This is how oblivious I was. There was a cop car like in that same little parking lot that I was, and I thought about things, and I'm like, she just saw me go and wave goodbye to my friends and do all this stuff. Uh-oh. Did I go offline? Yep, the stream dropped for a second. It looks like I'm back now. Um, so it looks like I came back up. I don't know where that's going to stop. But anyway, I was drunk, told the cop, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drive home. You're going to bust me. And as I thought about it, I'm like, I'm too drunk to drive anyway. I've got no business driving. So it shouldn't even have been a cop thing right there. So she gave me a ride home in the cop car. It was an SUV. It had the cage in the back. And I mean, I'd talked to her before. When you live in that small town, you tend to know the cops. And it's funny because she apologized to me. She's like, "I let you sit up front, but there's a shotgun on the seats, so that was taking up a lot of room." And she's like, "We're gonna get a more comfortable car. Sorry about the cage because you really had to like spread out your legs there." I was like, You don't have to apologize for me for your car not being comfortable. It's for criminals. We picked up a guy walking home that was drunk on the way home, dropped him off, and the worst part about that is I had to go to work the next day, and I had to go walk down and get my car, which is a couple miles away, and it was like 95 to 100 degrees out there, and I was still pretty hungover. That wasn't pleasant. On there, has J Dollars ever beat me at shuffleboard? Yes, not sure how. Um, when we went to Chicago, the last game we played, he won. It was him and Diedrich versus Brad. Um, and I'll be honest, I was a little tipsy at that point, like very tipsy. So it's all very blurry. So it may not have actually happened. But we just met up in Madison, not that long ago, and we played, and it was a different board. Um, didn't have enough salt on it, or sand, I should say sands. On there, I beat him the first couple games, and then he actually ended up beating me and Brad the last few, and then he had a jet. You know how that is. He finally wins one, and then he takes off. So the greatest thing about him is we also weren't drinking that day, which not very much. Which he says it's getting me drunk, blah blah. I can't play. I say the opposite. Like I needed alcohol to play better. So fun shuffleboard. So fun is Gino is rages. Not something you may get in chat. Like I know he rages on Tito a lot in chat because I mean it's just Tito, but he he gets angry and it's great. Like he literally is whipping that thing as hard as he can. Well, I don't know if it's hard as he can, but to where it was going off the board and it was hitting like that back board if you've ever played shuffleboard, and then doing a backspin and flipping back on to the board, and sometimes landing for points. Sometimes it was hitting so hard it was flipping back on that then it was sliding all the way back down to him at the beginning. So it's fun triggering J Dollars on there. We now start booting people for yubbing their TV deployment. Yeah, I'm completely down with that, Yub. I'm absolutely down with that. All right, so Bones has asked this question before. I think the first Q&A we ever did. It wasn't live, obviously. Bones asked this question, but it's a good refresher. What made you want to start a guild in this game, and why not just join an existing guild and be a normal player? Well, there's nothing about me that's normal. I'm fabulous. No, so that was so there was a group of like 10 or so of us that knew each other that were playing this game. As a lot of you guys know, Des Murray, Diedrich, Blee, and myself all worked together. And then Brad was playing this game. I know Brad pretty well. Falcon Punch. Yeah, Falcon Punch was working there too. And then Des had some friends like Foxy, his wife on there, Toll, Sanchi, that were playing the game as well. So we had a group on there. So it seemed we could Go Night. Go Night was back then. We could go join a group, but it just seemed like we didn't know what guilds were going to be. It's together. Let's see what that's like. And I remember it's funny because Des was like, "Man, there's like 10 of us, and we're all fairly strong. Like, we're going to be one of the strongest guilds in the game. How many people are in a guild?" And I was like 50. He's like, "Oh." I was like, "Yeah," because we never knew if we'd fill up 50 or anything. So I hopped on the forums. We didn't even know really who the guild leader was going to be, but we had our own group meeting room set up, just a few of us, where we would talk back and forth. It was mainly me and Go Night for the most part, just talking strategy and stuff. And they're like, "Hey, you're kind of the most into this. Why don't you be the guild leader?" And I was the one that talked the most. I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I had no idea that it was going to be the amount of work that it is. Don't get me wrong, I love it. Just had no idea whatsoever. On there, I don't think anyone had any idea. Like the chat would blow up and everything like that. So I was pretty late because I'm a pretty big procrastinator on there at getting out the forum post. So I'm like, I'll put a post in the forum. We'll see what happens on there. I took a couple days thinking up the forum post. That's kind of how I am when I write anything. I kick it around in my head for quite a while before I put it down. And then what usually happens is I put it down. It doesn't sound anything like what I wanted in my head, but I'm not that good at creating that stuff. Made the forum post. It caught fire, which is awesome. Next day at work, we started getting in those few, and then I'm trying to reply to everyone as quickly as I can while I'm still doing my job. Like I'm basically at that point not even doing my job. Like I've got people to recruit, And again, half of the people I worked with were there, so I think they understood on there. Getting that all sent out, and we're like, we didn't even make GroupMe a requirement. We've put no level requirements. We just said be active and be kind, basically. No level requirements, and GroupMe wasn't even a requirement. And but people joined up GroupMe, and it was awesome. And people started talking right away, and people got to know each other, and that was really cool on there. And then I think we had like a level 53 in the guild, so we definitely didn't do the requirements, but yet we were still one of the first 100 guilds to beat the Heroic Rancor. So I mean, we've got some great teamwork, we've got some great leadership, great strategy, things like that. So we didn't need to say like, oh, you have to be level 70. Back then level 70 was the cap, I believe. I think they moved it to level 80, like maybe when guilds came out or shortly thereafter. So that's what made us start a guild. It's just because there was a lot of us, and just like we could do things our way, and we didn't have to like. We could make sure the culture was right, and that was one of the big things early on. Is I wanted to set the culture in the guild. Not that I was like, oh, we're gonna have this guild for 2 years and all this stuff, but like just be nice to each other and be cool. And I mean, if somebody screws up, give them a hard time, but don't actually yell at that. And we had a little bit of that early on that we had to put a stop to, but I hope that answers your question there, Bones. Let's see. Do we have anything in? Who won between Churchill and Roosevelt? Personally, I think it's tied. I haven't seen that one. I saw. I don't watch a ton of epic rap battles. Usually they're like superhero characters, like Superman versus Goku or something. I mean, of course, Goku always wins that, but I watched Hayek versus Keynes. Both of those, I enjoyed both of those quite a bit. Those are more economy based. So I can't answer that one. I'm sorry. I'll get back to you, and I'll watch that. My guess is it's going to be Churchill, but I can't answer that because I don't know. I haven't seen that one. Why is Yub an officer and I'm not? He can't even deploy as good as me. Because Yub at least attempts English, Tito. That's why. I hope that answers that. Can't even deploy as good as me. Yub's an officer, so what I look for in officers is a super secret formula that I will never release to the world. As far as why Yub's an officer is, I lost that formula. Do you watch the UFC? No. I I watch Conor McGregor. I think like I watch UFC highlights on there, and I know a lot of people might think Conor McGregor's an asshole, and maybe he is, but he does a lot of charity work. I love his personality and stuff like that, so I'll watch him. Um, I had a thing against the UFC kind of from the beginning, and it's not fair to the UFC, but just because anytime people start freaking out about stuff, I I tend to I'm that guy that's like, oh, it's popular. I don't like it at first on there, and people were just going nuts about the UFC because I watched a little bit of the UFC way back in the day when there were really no rules, where like they could grind people's bald heads off of the fence and off the cage and bleeding and all that stuff, and I was like, this is nothing compared to like what it used to be. Now I understand. I appreciate the sport, everything like that. I just like boxing. I've never got into the really good technical stuff of it. So if there's not a ton of action, I get kind of bored. And usually when I try to watch the UFC fights, it's a lot of standing or they're trying to grab each other, and then there's like that 30 seconds of action and then someone's out. So I kind of feel the same thing about boxing. If it's a huge fight, I'll watch it. I really wanted to see the McGregor Mayweather. I almost paid the $100 to watch that match, but I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I know McGregor's going to win. I know it's not going to be close on there, and I'm going to be like, why did I spend this $100? I was glad I didn't. I actually got to watch like almost the entire fight the next morning on Facebook as well. I'm not sure how that was up there already, but and I know they're making a big deal out of, oh, McGregor, that was really close. McGregor actually won a couple rounds and everything like that. And they're just trying to hype him up for being a boxer. If you watch that, McGregor didn't stand a chance against Floyd. Those punches he landed, Floyd didn't have a mark on his face. Floyd was just sitting back, letting him tire himself out, making it a good match. And when it came down to it, once McGregor got tired, Floyd turned it on, and you know they called the match. He was about to knock him out anyway. Everyone knows that. Um, what's my favorite Disney movie pre Star Wars? That's good. Um, I'm just gonna go with like the old animated ones on there. Um, if I go back through like so it's really hard to pick a favorite because there's so many, and at different points in your life you have different favorites depending. So when I was a kid, the Sorcerer's Stone, I was a huge fan of that one. I mean, and to this day, I'm still a huge fan of like the King Arthur, Camelot's, all that stuff. That's one of my favorite stories. Merlin, all that stuff. I really like that story in fantasy. Any movie or show that does that well, I'm a big fan of. I was pretty disappointed. There was a Starz show called Camelot that came shortly after Spartacus finished filming, and I was really excited for Camelot. No, or was it Merlin? It was Camelot. Anyway, that was focused on that, and it was just like the early years of King Arthur, and it wasn't very good. I was pretty disappointed there. Um, I was a big fan of Lady and the Tramp growing up. I still really like that movie a lot. I'm a pet lover. On there, I like dogs for sure. I know I own cats, but I'm not like in that war cats versus dogs. I like dogs a lot too. I think it's just a lot easier to own a cat. Big fan of Lady and the Tramp. When I got a little bit older, I was a big fan of Aladdin. I love Aladdin, so um, I like The Incredibles a ton. If we go into like the Pixar on there, Incredibles is very good. That's one of my favorites on there because if we're just going to talk animated movies. Show you how to win a ship battle? Yeah. Fox and the Hound is the only right answer. I forgot about that one. That's a pretty good one, too. Can you show me how to win a ship battle? Let's get some gameplay in here. Yeah, sure. I'm really bad at talking. And can I get to 20? I'm really bad at talking and doing these at the same time, but didn't realize I left it up in ships. That's my team. I don't anything after Maul. I don't know that I necessarily like that much, but I haven't put Millennium Falcon in. It's I don't know. I should put in some other stuff. I just haven't really worked on them. The basic idea there is just to, if I get in trouble, just to make it last until Thrawn's basic or his ultimate. I'm just gonna start. Now they're gonna heal him back up. There's actually the disadvantage to having you guys go first is you're not healing your bigs with your target lock, but then they get to go after you hurt him and heal theirs. So oh, that was nice. The double attack there. Let's start on him. Probably should have saved that for when Maul comes in, because I'm sure Maul's going to come in and put stealth on Biggs, but I use the offense up, defense down first because it's really good. No double attack. Here comes Maul. Would have been nice to kill TIE Fighter there, but no dice. So Biggs will die. We'll bring in Maul. Maybe we'll kill 5. Oh, really? That was a good one. Admittedly, that was a good one. We're going to get the skunk here. Looks like it. Because they're not going to move. Gauntlet's going to take those down for sure. Or, Gauntlet's going to take down the enemy team's turn meter. Enemy ship's turn meter, so easy peasy. There we go. That's how you win a ship battle. There's like a 7-second delay from when I speak to when it goes through. So I'm watching my own ship battle back on my screen on YouTube. All right, so yeah, we've been doing this for a while. We've been about an hour and a half on there. Anyone have any other questions? Let me check. Any other chats? See if anyone's hit me with a question. Womp Rats? No, we got Womp Rats are good there. I saw Rule asked a question here. Womp Rats chat is quiet. Let's see if any of the other chats. Like I don't want to say the names of the chats because that people are like, you're in other chats? Yeah, I'm in a lot of chats. I'm in a ton of chats with different people, and we got a lot going on. Because we got the Wombrats, we have our other guild, the Knights, we've got alliances, we're everything, and then I've basically got a chat where we just bitch about Yub the entire time. Um, that's probably my favorite chat in there. Yub's actually in that chat. He participates a lot in that. I do have a favorite TV series. Yeah, so this is one I love to talk about. Is this is from Tidu, and like I said, I'm just gonna call you Tidu because that's what's in my head, and it's hard to go back and I know what the name's supposed to be, but MASH. MASH is my all-time favorite TV series. Then I grew up with as a kid watching. I still really enjoy because most people liked MASH, the earlier stuff, when it was all comedy. When Henry Blake was there. If you're not familiar with MASH, I'm sorry, this part's going to be boring. But when Henry Blake was there, when Radar was there, when you had Trapper John, everything like that, I actually prefer the later stuff when it got more into the seriousness. So you have Colonel Potter, Radar's left, you have Klinger, and then you have Winchester, and BJ Honeycutt. I was like, don't tell me I'm going to forget this when I'm live. Alan Alda directed a lot of those episodes on there, who is Hawkeye in the show. But it's because it became more serious. I think it gave a better side of that war. It had a lot more sadness to it. But it also had... So you still had your comedy mixed with like kind of the seriousness of the war. And I'm somebody that takes war pretty seriously. And I don't know that our country always does on there. And I think a lot of that honestly comes from MASH. Just seeing like these guys got plucked and they got drafted and they got shipped overseas to, this country that was fairly inhospitable where they were because, it was hot. They didn't have air conditioning, things like that. They were being under fire. Like, that's a big thing to take someone out and say that you have to go do this there. So I think a lot of that came from MASH. One of my favorite episodes I always think back to because it was such a powerful episode is Hawkeye went a little bit crazy and he was meeting with their psychiatrist, Sidney Friedman, which, if you're paying attention at all, Sidney Friedman is very close to Sigmund Freud on there. Same initials, same type of name on there. So that was a pretty simple one. And he had kind of gone a little nuts. He was just tired of the war. And Sidney knew that something had triggered that. Well, he told the story about how they were trapped on a bus. The bus broke down and they were in enemy lines on there, and they were with some South Koreans. This was about the Korean War, the Korean conflicts, if you want to call it that. And there was a chicken that kept balking, and he kept telling her, keep that chicken quiet, they're going to find us. And the lady ended up just strangling the chicken. But once he revealed kind of the story, that's how he remembered it in his head. Once he revealed the story, it was actually the lady had strangled her baby. The baby was crying on there. So that was one of my favorite episodes. That was a really powerful episode. Not to be a downer, but yeah, I also thought MASH was hilarious on there. Klinger is now a Disney princess since they're buying Fox. I liked Klinger. I really enjoyed Klinger's character. That's with a K, by the way. Just because his character was also a very serious character on there. Yeah, he dressed like a woman, everything like that. That became a shtick. Once he lost the dress and stuff like that, he was doing that so he could get back home to his big family and everything like that. And he became a really good character on there. I would say more recently, I really enjoyed the show Spartacus. It was on Starz. That show was a ton of fun. It sucked that Andy Whitfield died, no doubt about it. I really liked him, but I didn't take to the replacement right away, but I gave him a chance, and I really liked his replacement as well. If you're not familiar with Spartacus, the actor, he got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma on there, which is the same thing that the lead of Dexter got. The lead of Dexter recovered from it. So did Andy, who was the Spartacus actor. They put the show on hiatus while he got recovered. They actually came out with like a little prequel that showed like the events leading up to Spartacus on there while they're waiting for him. Obviously, he lost a lot of weight. That's what happens when you get cancer, I'm sure. And he was back in training for the role, and then he went back into remission, and it took him quick, unfortunately. I've always wondered, like, man, did he go back into training too quickly? Like, was he not, you know what I mean? Did that affect it? But I'm sure, the doctors know better than I do. Does Dina think I am crazy? Yeah, I knew Tito was an Andy fan. Does Dina think I'm crazy? I don't. Yeah, yeah, probably. I don't think she really understands. Shepard's paying attention. Um, so my story is I was pretty shy when I was younger, and then I got a job working with the public on there and working with a large team and things like that, and that kind of pushes you into the limelight. Like there's no, you know what I mean? You come out a little bit there. Dina's more of an introvert, so she sees me as like someone that's always the center of attention and things like that, and that's not necessarily what I try to do. I say this as I just set up a live streaming with myself on there, but I thought it would be fun for you guys on there. It took a lot for me to even do my voice on YouTube the first time. I'm just a pretty private person that way. Someday we'll do video. Don't worry. Someday was. I've thought about doing like in a drinks with Trey. Um, you ask a question, I take a drink. We'll do that on camera, but not yet on there. But so like when it's first of all, she hates my YouTube voice or she hates my phone voice. It's a little bit softer, a little bit more polite than on that. But I was for a while, many years ago, when I was coming out of college. In college, I was a telemarketer, and I just developed this phone voice, like this higher pitched, more polite voice on there, and it just served me well on there making sales and that stuff. And that tends to be what I do on YouTube as well. It's like you put a mic in front of me and I'm doing that on there. And so she hears me speaking or something. She's like, I hate that voice on the phone, everything like that. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but it's funny. It's just like I hate that voice. But that's what happens when you're with somebody for 15 years. You're free to tell them all the things that you hate about them. So yeah, she thinks I'm like I try to be the center of attention. She thinks I'm a know-it-all on there, which not necessarily a know-it-all, but just she's like, "Is there anything you don't know?" Which obviously there's tons of stuff I don't know. We watch game shows together, and I get tons of stuff wrong. But it's I pick up random facts, random trivia. I've been described as a jack of all trades, where I'm a master of nothing, which I think is fairly accurate. Like I will learn a little bit about each a topic just to make a conversation on that, and then if you want to go in depth, I'm like I'm out. So when you're talking general stuff, that makes it seem like you know a lot more than you do. But yeah, so she's an introvert. She's not all about the attention. She thinks I am. I just tell her that I'm just a star in the making. I'm just fabulous. So when I walk into a room, people pay attention. I tell her that to piss her off, and it works every single time. I also lie to her a ton, but I mean, not about anything big. I'm always like truthful with her, but I just try to see how many things I can trick her on. And sometimes it's just the smallest things, like what you making? Pizza, and I'm making chicken. And she has no reason not to believe me. So then when I walk in with a plate of chicken, she's just like, "Why do you do this?" I'm like, "God, it's fun." How did you and Dina meet? We worked. You're gonna like this one, Tito. You're gonna like this story a lot. Um, we met at a Walmart's on there because we both worked at Walmart's. Um, I know a little bit about. We won't talk about that, but yeah, we. I worked at Walmart for a while. So did she. That's how we met. So, um, been going together for a long time. We worked in similar departments on there. She had a boyfriend when I started working there, but I knew that wasn't going to last on there. Um, First thing I noticed about her was her smell. She wore Candy's perfume. I mean, keep in mind, it's like we were in our early 20s then. That was like I was pretty young. She wasn't. I don't even know I was 21 when I started on there, so that it was like one of those jobs. But she wore Candy's perfume and like it left a trail behind her. I was like, she smells good on there. I thought she had a cute butt too. Not that that's what I go for. Not that shallow, but it doesn't hurt on there. And then once her and her boyfriend broke up, which was only a matter of time. That was just one of those things. I was kind of there, laying in the weeds, waiting, and then swooped up, asked her on a date. November 16th was our first date. That's the anniversary we celebrate. So obviously we're not married, so we don't have that. But we went to see 8 Mile, and we went out to have Chinese food in Imperial Palace. Pyro, you're right. The prequel was pretty awesome. I would say that the other stuff was pretty good too. Um, is that Walmart in Florida? No, that Walmart is in Wisconsin. Um, Monroe, Wisconsin. They've since built a new store. They went to a super center on there. Um, I I was gone long before they built the Supercenter. But hey, I don't know who you are. Tell me your in-game name. Um, a fun story about our first dates. Well, let's see if any of here. First date, we went to my favorite restaurant at the time, so I wasn't nearly as well versed in food as I was at the time. But it's named Imperial Palace, Chinese place. Imperial Palace is still for the area. It's been voted like best ethnic restaurant like 15 to 20 years running. So most everyone I've talked to that ate at Imperial Palace is like, yes, that's the best Chinese I've ever had. I've had Chinese at a lot of places in a lot of big cities, things like that. Imperial Palace, best sweet and sour chicken, best crab rangoon, best beef teriyaki, hands down, best that I've had. Most people will tell you the same thing. Anyway, time that was my favorite restaurant. So if we're gonna go on a date, we were going to that town because that was the town we were going to Freeport, Illinois. Monroe, where I picked her up from work after she got off. Um, Monroe doesn't really have a good. It's 10,000 people. The theater sucks. All the restaurants suck. So we went there. She'd never had Chinese. Both ordered sweet and sour chicken. Got the crab rangoon. Got the beef teriyaki. She didn't know what to order. She seemed to enjoy it. Whatever. We go. We go back to my place for a little bit. They box up the Chinese, and when she's leaving, it's like, yeah, take your food. Put our two entrees of the sweet and sour chicken in two different containers, but they only put the rice in one container. I had barely eaten anything at all on there because, like, I'm a guy. Guys tend to eat a lot more than girls. Don't want to, like, make that impression that you're a pig or anything like that. So I'm like, I'm just going to match what she eats. Well, apparently she didn't want to come across as a pig either, even though, she was basically a bird on there. So she didn't eat hardly anything either. So at this point, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I am starving. And a little something about me back then. I lived with Brad. We were roommates back then. So Miles, we didn't really keep food in the house. When Brad used to like buy food, he'd hide it from me because I'd just go and eat it all, like especially peanut butter. He'd try to hide it, and I just eat all the peanut butter. Anyway, so like our fridge was completely bare. So I'm like, yeah, here's your chicken, and she's like, well, there's only one thing of rice, and I was like, you can just take the rice, not a big deal, right? As soon as she walked out the door, I was gonna mow that sweet and sour chicken, and she's like, but what good is it without rice? Like you won't have any rice for your chicken, and in the thing that I still regret, it still haunts me to this day, and the dumbest move ever. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just take the chicken too? She's like, okay, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, just take it. You're right. Without rice, what good's a chicken? You just take it too. And I'm screaming internally at myself at the time, why are you doing this? You're a terrible person. But you're trying to be generous. It's your first date, everything like that's on there. So she left. It's 2, 3 in the morning. I'm starving. I barely ate supper. I've been looking forward to that sweet and sour chicken the entire time. The fridge smells like the sweet and sour chicken, and there's literally no food. I mean, you open it up and there's no food in there. So I still talk about it, 15 plus years later. So it obviously still haunts me. Part of the reason is let's see, I last ate yesterday at before 4 p.m. So I'm doing a fast. I did a 24-hour fast. I'm now like on like hour 30 of my fast. I haven't actually eaten anything. So if I start talking about food, that's probably why. Mom spaghetti, yeah, absolutely. I love that rendition of that song on there. So funny story. I mentioned I don't have any questions right now, so I'll just talk away. As long as people are entertained, I'll keep talking. I got nothing better to do. Our first date, we went back to my place. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea there. She's not that type of girl. But like, what else do you do? Like, we were, out of college, didn't have a ton of money. Like, we went to a movie, we went out to eat. We weren't ready to end it yet, so we went back to my place and we're just sitting on the couch chilling. And I lived in an apartment complex at the time, and which was a really cool place to live. It had 4 apartments, and we knew everyone in there. So like we would have apartment parties on there. We just go in and out of people's apartments, a lot of fun. But my buddy from downstairs, Pyro's got a question. My buddy from downstairs, I hear him knock on my door and slightly open the door, and he's like, he says my name, and I'm like, go away. And he kind of a little bit more, and I'm like, go away. And then he opens it up, and him and his brother come in, and they're both just drunk. Their last names are Smith, so they're both Smitty. And he starts talking to me. Remember, I'm on a date. On there, sitting on the couch with this girl, everything like that, and just drunk him. Hey, how are you? Starts talking away. They left after about 15 minutes, and I was like, I am so sorry, but those are my friends. That's how it's gonna work. So actually, after she left that night, I went back down there, and he's like, "I am so sorry." And I'm like, "If you're sorry, why did you keep opening the door?" He's like, I did." He's like, "But I like her." All right. So thinking about when Night Sisters Zombie is 7-star, will G8 be too much gear on the tune? My first question is, why would you put her at 7-star, Pyro? If you're talking about for territory battles, then if you want to use her in territory battles, then I don't think that's going to matter as much on there. Like Night Sisters are just going to screw up everything anyway. Um, but if you're talking about arena or territory war, that would be my question: why you put it under 7 stars? Like I went to use my Night Sister team in territory battle, phase 2 or whatever, and I realized like I don't even have her 3-star or 4-star or whatever it is. I could promote her, but I'm not going to because the less healthy she has, the better. So if we pull up, let's pull up my Night Sisters. Yeah, so I could put it at 3-star. I didn't on there. You can say I've been working on them. Um, you know, Ventress is done. Talzin is at least getting top up there. We have questions, but yeah, I don't know why you would really promote her. I'm not even happy that I put her to gear 7, to be honest, or that's gear 8. Yeah, I'm not even happy that I did that, but I did. What's your favorite liquor and can Dina outdrink you? The second part, though, Dina absolutely cannot outdrink me. Dina's never been drunk in her life. On her, not that I mean, she's not like the goody two shoes ever. I mean, she's pretty good, but she gets really warm when she drinks. It's great. I'm like, just drink a little bit more on there, and you'll be good. But no, so she definitely can't outdrink me. The fun thing about her though is she does not taste alcohol. What do you mean by that? So, like when I was younger, I could drink vodka straight from the bottle. Now it's more like shots, but even now, I mean, the more access you have to alcohol, like the better you want it to taste. When you're young, and like I'll drink a whole bottle of vodka, I don't care, I want to get drunk. She can drink, like I've seen her do it. Take a swig of vodka straight out of the bottle, no face, no anything, no like that little ooh, and I think she's like it just tastes like water. Um, we were at a restaurant recently, and I ordered a pomegranate martini because I like to wear dresses and high heel shoes. Apparently, no, at least it wasn't an apple teeny, but I want to try a pomegranate martini, and it was pretty strong. It wasn't the best tasting thing. It was pretty strong. I gave it to her for her to have a sip, and she's like, "Ooh, that's tart." She tastes the pomegranate. None of the burn from the alcohol. Like she'll feel like I don't know, like her throat gets warm. She literally does not taste alcohol. I've made her Captain and Cokes before. I've made them pretty strong. She's like, I don't get it. It just tastes like Coke on there. So yeah, she can drink alcohol straight out of the bottle, and it just tastes like water to her. Why am I fasting? I don't have a good answer to that, Bones. Kind of a personal goal on there as well, but I do what's called the ketosis diet. If you've ever heard me talk about keto, which is just a high fat, low carb diet, I started that a while ago. I really like it because it gives you a ton of energy, and more energy is always good on there. And then you get to eat lots of bacon, and you don't have to like be like it's killing me. So that's good there. When I was doing that when I had my gallbladder surgery, and intermittent fasting is kind of what you do, like the next step of the ketosis diet. I had the gallbladder surgery. I wasn't able to get back in ketosis for a while on there just because I wasn't able to eat fats. My body didn't know how to process it, so I had to go through and I had to retrain my body to eat fats. And like I would always take some. If you're familiar with like MCT powder or MCT oil, I'd always take some. I have a spinach smoothie every morning for breakfast, and I take some of that. But man, it would just I would not feel good afterwards. So I actually had to get this stuff called Swedish bitters, which you take a tablespoon of that, and it helps your body to produce more bile, since your gallbladder isn't there to store bile. And I'm sure this is super interesting to everyone. I apologize, but I want to answer the question and tell you a little bit about myself. Um, to imagine how bad the Swedish bitters taste, um, it's a lot of camphor in it. Camphor and menthol are like one of those ingredients in Vicks Vapor Rub. So it's like drinking liquefied Vicks Vapor Rub. It's not good. To put it in perspective, like I recently started drinking apple cider vinegar. Like I can drink that stuff like straight from the bottle, and it was like I'm good to go. but that those Swedish bitters is good. I don't need to do this anymore because my body is pretty much healed. Anyway, so I couldn't do ketosis for a while, and I was missing it. I was missing that energy, and I still felt pretty good. But just intermittent fasting is one of those things. A lot of people do this. If you're familiar with Terry Crews, who's like gotten looks amazing on there. He's a big fan of intermittent fasting on there. The idea is you just eat your calories in like an 8 hour or less period, and then you don't fat. You don't eat the rest of the time. Your cells get hungry. It makes your cells go out looking for food, and they eat dead or dying cells. Kind of refreshes you that way. It's supposed to clear up like your mental clarity, things like that. And then also people are like, well, you'll be low energy. No, what actually happens is your body goes into like hunter-gatherer mode. You don't have food, so your body produces energy so that you can go out and get food. So a lot of the fitness guys and everything like that, intermittent fasting is huge right now. So what I did yesterday is I did a 16-hour fast that ended at like 2:30 yesterday. Which my lunch is, it's honestly just, it's a spinach smoothie, which is just spinach, almond milk, coconut oil. And then I had my lunch of, I eat 4 Brussels sprouts, I eat some asparagus, maybe like 8 to 10 asparagus things, and I eat a lot of kale. And I fry that all up in coconut oil with some salt, pepper, and garlic. It's delicious. That's not something I would have thought would have been delicious years ago. So I ate that, and then I'm like, I'm going to do another fast on there. And I'm going to make it until tomorrow morning, until I wake up on there and go to work. And then I started thinking about it last night, and I'm like, I should do the 24 hour. I should knock the 24-hour one out of the way while I'm at it. It's not that much longer. It's my day off. I went into work for like 5 hours, but still is my day off. So if I needed to, I could go grab food. But I drank a spinach smoothie at like 3:45 that day. So today at 3:45, I hit the 24 hours, still going strong. I'm thinking about pushing to the 48 hours, just so I can. Back to the bucket list. That was one of the things on my bucket list is I want to do a 48-hour fast on there. 16 hours, and he's in his 50s, right? What? No, I'm not in my 50s. Can J Dollars outdrink me? That's a really good question. I'll answer that the best that I can. Oh yeah, Terry Crews. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about me. Yeah, Terry Crews. Yeah, Terry Crews actually says that. Oh, I see that stuff's popping up on YouTube. Then I'm almost out of data. That's cool. Terry Crews says that he's never felt better in his life than since he started intermittent fasting. And this is a guy that honestly looks amazing, and like he's looked amazing for a long, long time. Like he's in shape. There's no doubt about it. So when that guy says he's never felt better, that's pretty cool. I will tell you that, yeah, I have a ton of energy. Like I was at work today, I just could not sit still on there. So I had a little bit of brain fog. It was hard to do my job, but I've also, like I said, it's my day off, and I came into work. I've been working a lot of extra hours, off things like that. So that probably because I've been staring at a bright screen so much this week on there. But back to, can $J outdrink me? So normally I would say no, because man, there's not a lot of people that can outdrink me. That's just, and I'm not the drinker that I once was. Not as good as I once was, but I'm probably not as good once as I ever was, or however that goes either. Just because I don't drink that much anymore, so my alcohol tolerance is fairly low. J Dollars is impressive. He can definitely drink. So I'll give credit where credit's due. We were at the bowling alley, and I was buying drinks. I like bombs. Bombs are something we started up. This was before I had met J Dollars. We were at a bowling alley one time, and they had like specials on bombs, and bombs are like basically Monster mixed with some kind of alcohol on there. And they're not the strongest things in the world, but there's berry bombs, and there's an apple bomb, and a SoCo bomb. Obviously has Southern Comfort and Monster, all that stuff. And man, it was me, Brad, Falcon Punch. We got pretty good. We went to Bonefish to eat, one of my favorite restaurants, and it's a nice restaurant. Brad spent the entire time, like we were there for like an hour plus. He spent the entire time puking in the bathroom at this nice restaurant. He came back and he ordered food. He never touched his food on there. He got some kind of teriyaki rice. I think it had peanuts in it, something like that. A fun story, that food ended up in like the back seat to take it back to his place. He somehow, I was in the back seat. I don't know how it happened, but somehow all that rice ended up all over everywhere in the back seat. Didn't even find that out until the next day when his girlfriend commented on it. Anyway, so we met up with J Dollars and we went to that same place, um, bowling alley in Madison. We were doing bombs. Didn't have any specials, unfortunately, because I was buying the bombs. I dropped $150 there, but it was me, Brad, Diedrich, and J Dollars, and we did this drink called the Can Blee Outdrink Me? Oh God! Oh, I got a story for that there for you too. Um, there's this drink called a wooden floor. What a wooden floor is it's basically your four dark liquors, and you can make it whatever you want. But it's Jose, Jim, Jack, and Yukon, I believe. So you've got your whiskey, your bourbon, your I forget what the other one's called, and then your tequila. And you can make a shot out of it. So you just got those four little quarter shot of peas. With the real wooden floor is you do a shot of each. So you have a 4-ounce shot, a Scotch glass, and you drink that down like as a shot. You know, you don't sip on it like you would Scotch. You drink it down like a shot. I've messed up a lot of people with that drink. I used to play a game when I was younger. Like you'd take shots until someone makes a face, or see who wins on there. Before like the grimace, things like that. I've seen a lot of people get messed up by a wooden floor. Even the shots of a wooden floor, not necessarily the 4 ounces on there. So I'm ordering it at the bar, and I'm telling the bartender, because nobody's ever really heard of it. You can look it up on there, but I order it, and I'm telling the bartender what it is, and she looks at like the manager or the owner of the bar. She's like, "Am I allowed to make this?" And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "He wants 4 shots of something in the same glass." He's like, "No, if we do more than 2 ounces of liquor, we'll get shut down." He's like, "That's a huge thing." And I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it illegal." And she's like, "Well, what I could do is I could do like the 2 ounces in each, and then you can take those and you come back up and do 2 ounces more in each glass." I'm like, "Or could you just do 2 ounces in 3 glasses, and then the other 2 ounces in 3 glasses, and when I'm well out of eyesight of you, I will pour them together." She's like, "As long as I don't know about it, that's cool to do." So we've got these 4-ounce glasses on there, of wooden floors. Before this, I had just done the regular shot, the 4 alcohols in just 1 shot. J Dollars lost the game of bowling. He took all 4 of the shots, slammed them down, like just because I made a joke like, "You're gonna have to do all of these." Just completely joking. He's like, "Yeah, I was planning on it anyway." Just boom, 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 just 4 shots, just like that, because he's terrible at bowling. And I'm sorry, I'm listening to myself back in my ears with that 5 to 7 second delay. And then, because he'd been complaining that we'd stopped to eat, we'd stopped drinking, and he was losing his buzz. Then he took the wooden floor, and he wasn't complaining he was losing his buzz anymore. He had to stop because he had to drive home eventually. He's responsible, so he made sure to sober off before he had to drive home. Yeah, so seeing somebody take down 4 shots of wooden floor and then drink a wooden floor, that's 8 shots in in less than 10 minutes. So that's impressive for sure. I mean, I did it for sure because, I'm kind of a big deal. Just playing, but yeah, that was impressive. Never question J Dollars manhood again. $150 buys a lot of fists. That was all shots, stuff like that. The Sokotano bomb, I like that. Maybe I will give that idea there on there. It's funny because it started when we first went there and we did it. There was something called a booby bomb. My uncle's nickname is Booby. He's had it since he was an absolute kid. I don't even remember why he gave it, but I mean, like, he was a baby and he had that nickname. So I'm like, we got to try Booby Bomb. And then it was tasty. And now, if you see me talk about bombs, Miles is going to be like, "Nope, Brad, nope, puking," because he's a big girl on there. But yeah, J Dollars can definitely put him back. If you've ever had Malort, J Dollars introduced us to Malort, which is a really, really awful shot. That then, once I get drunk enough and get him drunk enough, I trick him into drinking more of it, and that was pretty funny. I was buying shots at no, not Booby Miles. I was buying shots for us while we were playing shuffleboard at one of the bars we were at in Chicago, and I was getting like, because like Sex on the Beach and that stuff. I was getting the fruity flavored shots. A lot of them were cheap. And I'm like, give me one Malort. And I was bringing him shots, and he's like, "What's this now?" I'm like, I don't know what she said, like Sex on the Beach or something like that." And he downs it, and he just the look on his face. Malort is bad enough. Then when you're not expecting Malort, you can look up reviews of Malort. It's something like, it's gasoline with Bigfoot's hair on it. When are we gonna have the first annual Qui-Gon shot gathering? I can out some shots away. Put some shots away. I assume he means. Hey, when you coming up? Anytime you want to. Come up to the Midwest. We've been trying to get Bones down here. Bones actually trolled J-Dollars hard. Me too, because he's an asshole. Saying that he was in for one of our meetings, and then he came back. He's like, "No, I'm just messing with you." J-Dollars was so excited. He was messaging me like, "Bones is coming," and Bones is kind of a dick. So nope. On there, you come up this way. We'll make it happen, my friend. On there, we'll get together. I've gotten together with J-Dollars. First saw him the parade for the Cubs. So when the Cubs won the World Series, Falcon Punch and I were playing Xbox that night, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to the parade?" And it was like 1 a.m. already, and I was like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "We're gonna have to leave at get up at 6 a.m. or something like that." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Let's go to the parade." And they were messaging J-Dollars. J-Dollars was good, telling us which station to go to or which train to take, stuff like that. And then it's like, "Hey, if I see you at the train station, cool." And then there's 5 million people there. We never ran into each other, but because I was like, "Hey, if you want to make this real weird, we can meet up somewhere." So we were eating lunch at a place, and he came up and stopped in for 10 minutes or so. That was pretty quick. He had stuff going on, and then we set a date, and I think we met in Madison the first time. We've met in Chicago, things like that. Somebody's just telling me that they're mostly drunk on there, which is fine. They said I did a good job. I can talk for a while without getting too boring, but they're also mostly drunk. I would say if I was going to listen to me, I'd be drunk as well. I just moved back to the Midwest to be closer. When did you leave the Midwest, Blee? As long as I've known you, you've been in the Midwest, and I think you were in the Midwest before that. Bones is in Minnesota. He's a pansy and won't come down. We've been trying to get Framing to come out, but he's in Arizona, so I can probably understand that. We're trying to get Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan could just pick up people and fly the entire way, but I don't know. Apparently, fuel is expensive. I don't know. Buy less Night Sisters and go pick up some Qui-Gons and fly them in your 2-seater. I think there was a running joke about filling that with hats. We'd have to throw out the hats. I don't remember exactly what that was. Oh, I remember when Blee lived in Florida. Same time I did. All right, so we've been going about 2 hours strong. I'm okay doing this if we've still got questions on there. Drama queens don't like to travel. You are a drama queen. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if you were referring to yourself, but I'm gonna put you out there. Oh, you're talking about Framing. How cute. I'm just giving you a hard time, Tito. I knew who you're talking about. Mr. Quaid. Yeah. Meanwhile, Framing's still over there doing territory battles in the guild that he created. But if you didn't see his guild, you should go check out his guild if you don't have him as an ally. He's just having fun in that guild, and he's trying to get other people into that guild, if you know what I mean. Children loves to talk. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's the truth. Who doesn't like to talk? I know some people don't like to talk about themselves. I don't have a problem talking about myself. That doesn't mean I can't listen. At work, I'm in a video chat pretty much the entire time I'm at work. So for 10.5 hours, just hanging with some people, and it's funny because it's kind of turned into this little. You got to be secretive about it because some people are like, "Hey, come join my room," but they're people that other people don't necessarily want in their room because they might talk too much or things like that. So you have to be like, I'm just chilling right now because I work from home. Girlfriend's vacuuming. I use that excuse. Girlfriend's vacuuming, it'll be loud, things like that. And while I'm chilling in this other room. But, so yeah, you can't talk the entire time. You definitely got to listen on there. Learn a lot about each other when you're in a video chat for 10.5 hours a day or so. on there. I usually can't see them because I'm working, so I have like the video conference in the background, but you can hear them. It really makes the day go by fast though when you're just chilling with like 3 or 4 other people. Just that's a great way to work. I would recommend it to everyone. Why isn't Fat Bears here to hear your buttery voice? Um, I don't know. Asians sleep at the weirdest times. It's like he's sleeping right now, and I don't understand it. Like, why do they have such weird sleep schedules? That's a joke, by the way. I'm down for Guild Voice Chat. We actually talked about that a little bit. Doing Discord on there because we were talking about ways to do this on there, and I tested this out last night, and it it wasn't working well at first. You have to YouTube. I don't know. It seems to make it a little bit too. It could be a lot easier. Like I just want to press a button and go live. They have you download an encoder, so I had to go download another thing and all that stuff. And I didn't even necessarily want it from the phone on there to record the phone. It's fine that it does, but that was the encoder that I found that did. Then you got to AirPlay it. I'm using the Mac, so you've got to AirPlay it, things like that. So it wasn't that easy. So we're like, well, we could just use Discord. And I was like, yeah, I'm down with that someday. Like that idea there is you can hear everyone else talk, and I think that might get like if other people than me are talking, it's not good. I'm just kidding. But I've never used the Discord voice, but I think it'd be probably a lot of people talking. It would be hard to pay attention to answers. So I'm totally down with doing the Discord thing there. I've put my voice out there, so that's a-okay by me. Fat Bear said he was going to be here. Well, he can't even get his damn name right, so TeamSpeak is a great voice chat tool. Yeah, I remember TeamSpeak back when I used to play computer games. People talked about TeamSpeak. I kind of forgot about that. Let's see, what do I got here? Oh, somebody knocked me from second to third at payout. Like I said, I took a nap at 5:30. I was beat. Yep, I told you I didn't even think I got top 20 in fleet today because I've done one battle. Didn't even do all my challenges yet on there. Any other questions? What's my favorite PC game? Oh, that's easy. That's Ultima Online. Ultima Online is kind of what started the whole MMORPG thing, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. If you're not familiar with that, I know you are, Tito, but anyone that's out there, if they're not, it was before EverQuest. EverQuest was more popular. WoW, World of Warcraft is more of an EverQuest clone because they're based on like that leveling of your character, getting those dings as you hit the level, gaining experience, things like that. UO was a skill-based game where you didn't level, just the more you used the skill, the more proficient you would become with it. And then you could do anything. If you wanted to be a baker, you could be a baker. If you wanted to be a fisherman, you could do that. If you wanted to be a tailor or a blacksmith and sell things to people that way, you could do that. You didn't have to go out and hunt and do all that stuff. I mean, you could have 5 characters per account on there, so you could create like, characters that were on there. You had a certain amount of skill points, so a character couldn't be the end all catch all in there. But I actually just reactivated my U account recently because I wanted to do some macroing while I was at work, just something to pay attention to on my PC. But my account was not active for too long. It was inactive for too long, so I lost my house, which had like all my weapons and stuff in it. So it's like, should I rebuild? Should I not? And it was like, it might be time to finally let that die. But I've played UO on and off for 15 plus years, so it's definitely my favorite computer game. Do I know how to play Magic the Gathering? Give me a break. I destroy Magic. Yeah, I know how to play Magic. There was another chat I was breaking out. That meme where, I forget the guy's name, but the bigger guy that's on YouTube, where he flips the table, where he's playing Magic cards. I was like, this setup is all wrong, and it's making me mad. Like, there's no way he's going to have that many lands out with that few cards and, all this stuff. Like, that thing's going on, like, turn 20 right now with that many lands. There should not be all that. So I actually broke out the Magic set and like said, this is how a game mid game should work on there. Magic is one of those things. Back in the day, like I would have loved to have been a pro Magic player. Cost a ton of money, obviously. It's one of those things. I always played multiplayer casual. I've seen him really flipping the table. That guy. multiplayer casual, and so the decks I've built are multiplayer casual. So some of them are going to work in one-on-one, but a lot of them are meant to be much bigger on there. At least I thought it was him. That's pretty cool. Um, so one-on-one's a whole different beast, and that would be something I have to learn. But I really enjoyed the research of Magic. Like when I would create a deck, like I would have like in Google Chrome, I would have like 50 plus tabs open of different cards. If you ever want to make a deck, I highly recommend Star City's advanced search on there because you put in what you want a card to do, it'll find the card for you. And so I think I have like 10 or so decks. I haven't played Magic in quite a while. I still love Magic on there. It costs way too much to be pro. Yeah, that's the thing on there because there's multiple things to be pro. One, you always have to have the newest cards on there. If you're playing modern, you always have to. I mean, you always have to have the newest cards, and then you're gonna have a team that's going to test the decks and help you build the decks and all that stuff. And then you've got the whole meta. So I'm like one of those guys that would be against the metas on there. But then you have your sideboard and stuff. So you need a team to test out that stuff. So it's not like you don't just walk up with this deck because you're facing teams of people that have been custom building decks, everything like that. It would be like in Arena, if there was 10,000 plus characters in Arena, and you've got Team Instinct over there testing every single character and figuring out the best one, and you walk in blind, so it's all right. Yum's somewhere around. Yum's not in here, but yeah, I was talked about doing Friday Night Magics on there. They were just too far away. The local place that did them, I lived about 45 minutes away. I typically worked Friday, so that was too much. And my thing all on that was my first experience in a Magic store. And I'm not knocking on nerds or geeks at all. Like I've definitely got some nerdy, some geeky things. I said before, I don't really consider myself one because I'll still go play basketball. I'll still do stuff like that. But I'm not knocking on those things. But there's a certain type of people. Like they were setting up for a Friday Night Magic game, and there was definitely a body odor smell in there. Like it wasn't pleasant on there from like that area where they were setting up for the Friday Night Magic. I was in there just buying like a box of cards to play with. Like you got like 1,000 cards for like $10, just random all commons on it. But at least give me some cards to sort through. It was like I played one draft at that point, just something to do. And there was this kid I like to call him SpongeBob because he was, I don't know, he had that type of personality where you say the person's name after everything you say. The other person's name was Patrick, hence the SpongeBob, but it was like, I hit you for 2 damage, Patrick. It's your turn, Patrick. Patrick, do you end your turn, Patrick? And it was just like the nerdiest thing. So it's always like, that's kind of what I'm going to be exposed to if I ever go to a Friday Night Magic. I was like, I could be king of the nerds here. Like, they're good people, but I could be their leader. Like, they could look up to me and I could teach them about smells like fat, sweaty nerds who don't shower sit at the same time. Yeah. So you used to do Friday Night Magic. That's cool on there. That was another thing about the Friday Night Magic is that, man, people with their rules get so into it, and it's almost like when you go to play blackjack at a casino. Like, and you got to know all the hand movements and you got to do all that right stuff. Like, we just played multiplayer casual. We played for fun. Like, I don't want to make a mistake and have somebody freak out. Like, if you put your hand down on the table, you lose the game. That was I don't even remember if that was true or not. But you always have to have your cards in your hand. Or if you put your cards like below the table for a second, somebody's going to freak out, stuff like that. You're not trying to hide the cards in your hand. It's just a natural thing. And there, I remember there was the ability that came out. There was Miracle. We used to do a lot of drafts. We would draft every time a set came out, just a small group of us, that enjoyed playing Magic. Because drafting doesn't cost much money. It's a great way. Nobody's done tons of research on the cards, things like that. So it kind of evens out the playing field for those guys that aren't as serious. It's just kind of a more of a pure skill thing on there. Definitely some luck involved as well. But there's this ability called Miracle. And Miracle said that you could play the card without its mana cost, or with like a very low mana cost if you played it immediately after you drew it, like before it hit your hands. And I had one that was like a 5-minute card, and I literally, because you're so used to just drawing the card, putting it in your hand, I drew it, it touched my hand, I saw a Miracle, and like within a split second said, I'm going to Miracle this. And my opponent, again, this was a multiplayer casual thing, was like, yeah, I'm not going to allow that. I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, sorry, it touched your hand. I mean, I understand. I don't hold it against him at all. I would have allowed it, but I paid the 5 mana, still won the game, so whatever. But that's just the kind of stuff when it came to like the Friday Night Magics when people get more serious. Like, I don't want to be tense on there. We had dedicated judges. That's cool. The the one I was looking to go to, like the Magic Store, literally the owner was the judge. The problem was he would also play on there, so he would sign someone else up, or like, how did he do that? He would put someone else in to be the judge so that he could play, so he could affect his rank on there. And meanwhile, he's running the store. Like, yeah, he was. That wasn't that cool at all. So that you don't probably want the guy who's playing to be happen in those small shops, probably. All right. Do we have any other questions? Still got 5 viewers. We're getting a little low. People are dropping off. That's fine. All right. Okay, I answered Pyro's questions. I'm just checking the chats, see if I got anything new in there. Favorite anime? Oh, Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z on there. I'm not. I'm just not huge. I'm not a huge anime person. It's not that I don't like them. It's just it's something that I never really got into that much. But Dragon Ball Z, I loved as a kid. Like in college, when I was in college, Cartoon Network was airing them up to the Cell series, and they do them in order. So like they do it through the Cell series, and then they would start over. So that's actually where I ended Dragon Ball Z. I never. I still want to watch the Boo saga, the Majin Buu. I never saw that. I've seen enough of it on YouTube. I know what's going on, but I'd still like to watch it. But I am watching Dragon Ball Super now, which comes out on Saturday nights on Crunchyroll. And I really enjoy Super a lot because there's no more of like the we're going to spend 6 episodes powering up. Now it's a lot of fighting. It's a lot of action. They're fighting other universes, so I'm really digging that. I watched. So my sister's really big in anime, so she's been giving me some stuff. She's been telling me to watch Full Metal Alchemist, but she's been telling me to watch Brotherhood, and she just messaged me that Brotherhood is now fully available on Netflix. So I'm probably going to check that one out. I watched Angel Beats based on her recommendation. That was a good show. That was more like of a thinker show, not a lot of action, just like a emotional show. It was kind of sad. It was kind of happy, things like that. The Blue Saga was good. Yeah, it looked good. And then I watched Hadriel Jetberg. I don't even know if that's how you say it. Hadriel. He he could correct the name, like the something Joey Toynson War or something like that, where you had these 12 different um, people that warred against each other for like the fate of the world or whatever. That wasn't really that good, to be honest. Dragon Ball Z character, you know, it's tough. Just I would really well. We're talking about Dragon Ball Z character, so that we're not even taking in Super. Okay, so I was gonna say because Piccolo has definitely done some stuff in Super that's pretty cool. I just wish Piccolo would get stronger. He's that thinker and he's got all these cool moves and all this stuff. But then when it actually comes down to like he just gets his butt kicked. I don't really like Gohan that much. Vegeta, I like Vegeta a lot. Vegeta is that guy that he's like a cat that a standoffish cat that you wish would be around more, but then when they're nice to you, like when they come and sit on your lap or whatever, like it means that much more. Versus like both cats I have now are very, very friendly on there, things like that. And don't get me wrong, that's what I prefer. But sometimes you get that one that like when they come up to you, it means that much more because they never do. That's how I feel like Vegeta. It's like you're always waiting for him to be that good guy, and then like when he does like something selfless or something like that, it's just like, yes, that's my boy. That's Vegeta. So I think he might be the most interesting character. Um, I just man, it's the Goku thing. So some of the music when they work with Goku is so good. Like because Vegeta gets beat far too easily. Vegeta just doesn't seem to have that get up and go. Like once he's down, he tends to stay down. He's laying on the ground. Where Goku is the one that's always like it might take him 30 seconds to do a push up to push himself back up, but Goku's always getting back up. So really have to respect kind of that fight in Goku, where you would think Vegeta would have a lot more of that fight due to his pride and everything like that, where he would just never stop. And I think you're seeing a little bit more of that in Dragon Ball Super. But even there was a battle that he lost that like he was taking a lot of punishment. He kept getting up, and then the guy just took him down, and he just laid there. You know, it's like he didn't try to get up or anything. He just kind of gives up in that way. All right. Future one arm Gohan is my hands down favorite. I got it. Yeah. Is that was that from the Buu saga? Is that after the Cell saga? I'm trying to think of one arm Gohan. Oh, are you talking about like when Trunks was just talking about Gohan and like the limited amount of time that Gohan was there? Because the only one I remember Gohan from one arm Gohan from was like a Trunks memory. That's the only time I really saw him. So I'll answer Brizz's question, even though I don't think Briz is in here. Still need one last first order for BB-8, but not sure if I should go Stormtrooper or wait to see if the newer ones are easier farms. You can put Stormtrooper pretty. I think my Stormtrooper's G8. Let me pull up my first order. If I knew the alphabet, this would be easier. Yeah, so that's a G7 Stormtrooper. So Trunks flashbacks. Okay, yeah. They actually did that again later in the series. I think Dragon Ball Super. You see one arm Gohan a little bit again. I'm gonna mess with Briz. Whoops, wrong chat. This is basically the Trey and Titu show, which is fine. Oh, I see we lost a viewer. People are dropping off. That's all right. I'm waiting for Super to get caught up in dub. Yeah, so I always watched Z in dub on there, and obviously Super was only really available in sub, so I started watching that, which wasn't really what I preferred. It was weird getting used to the characters' voices because I've always thought Z did a pretty good job with the dub, but they didn't. And what I say is like after watching it in sub and hearing the character voices and how they should sound, and I've seen enough of English versions of Super on there. It's not just the voices. Like Wiz's voices. When you get to Wiz's voice is very far off, like what I think it should be or what I'm used to it being in sub. But I can handle the voices. It's the dialogue. The dialogue changes so much. And oh, his stormtroopers. Geez, okay. He needs to get a stormtrooper to 7 stars. I understand. Goku shouldn't be a 15-year-old girl. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying because I'm used to that Goku as well. On there, that's just it is what it is. On there, I hear you though. Um, but the dialogue is weird. So there was this great battle between Vegeta and this character named Hit on there, and it was a pretty minor battle. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was fairly minor. But in the Japanese version, in the subbed version, Hit was hitting Vegeta a lot, but they were small attacks, and he was so fast that Vegeta couldn't keep up. And he has this plan where he's like, I can take these small attacks. He's not doing that much damage, and then I can counterattack that way. And Hit fires back at him like, because Hit's winning the battle. He's like, have you come up with a strategy yet? Because Hit is just like one hand in pocket. He's just handling business, and Vegeta attacks him, and Hit hits him with the punch, and Vegeta grabs his hand so like he can't get away. And he's like, yeah, I got you now. And then Hit just like pushes that punch into his abdomen, and like Vegeta in his head is like, it was a strong one, and just collapses. In the dubbed version, you got none of that. There was none of that dialogue. Nothing about Hit like taunting him, like, "Are you done coming up with a plan?" Nothing about what Vegeta's plan was. Nothing about like it was a strong one, anything like that. And it was just so I don't like the fact that they changed the dialogue, and I don't think the dialogue is as good from what I've seen. Did Briz just hop on? If he did, hi Briz. If he didn't, that's okay. Alright, I'm just checking the chats here. Just talking about Yub getting drunk. Probably forgetting to deploy again. Yub, if you can hear this, hey, deploy. Just do it right now. Alright. I'm going to hop off here. If we have any last questions, I appreciate everyone that came and joined, people that listened, people that asked questions. Appreciate you, T2. Oh, what was my first vehicle? You asked that earlier. My first vehicle was an '83 Ford Tempo. I paid $300 for it. I was washing dishes at the time one night a week. Friday or Saturday nights, I would wash dishes for $25 a night on there. And that's how I saved my money to get my first vehicle. So it was an '83 Ford Tempo, paid $300 for it. During the test drive, I wasn't the one that test drove it, my mom test drove it, but it didn't have any brakes, so she had to put it in a snowbank to take it out. So the dealership fixed the brakes. So the first time I took it out, so it was a big deal. I'd got my license, I had my car, you know what I mean? It was blue, but a lot of the blue paint, like on the hood, not on the hood, but like on the top of the car, the roof was chipping off, so you could see like the red underneath. I don't know why there was red underneath, but there was. We were down at Casey's gas station, and I'd taken it out, and people were going to pile in, and we were going to go somewhere, and the car died. Like, would not start. And I think the battery was dead on it. And we were so idiots about cars. We have like 7 or 8 people standing around trying to figure out how to jump a battery on a car. That thing used to die on me nonstop. I got it going 80 once. The speedometer only went to 85. I got it going to 80, and it was shaking. The steering wheel was shaking so hard. Like, I'm like, I can't go any faster. I'll lose control. I'd be making laps. That was a big pastime, is making laps. We had a main street that was like a 5-minute lap that people would just circle all night, and they'd wave at each other. And I still don't understand why we did it, but we did it on there. And it would die in Main Street, and we'd flood it trying to get it back started and all that stuff. And we'd I would try it, then I'd hop out, somebody else would try it, and there'd be a line of cars behind us. So yeah, an 89 Pontiac Sunbird, nice. That's a much nicer car than an '83 Ford Tempo on there. Did I say '84 earlier? I meant '83 if I did say '84. I got rid of that one, and my next car was a '92 Beretta GT, which was nice because that one only had like 27,000 miles on it. So when you're like 16, 17, that was a pretty nice car to have. Sam or Dean Winchester? That's a good question. So I don't watch that show anymore, but I did. I watched the first couple of seasons on there. We used to only have, like, we didn't have cable. When Dean and I first moved in together, we just never really got cable. We just had, like, the antenna. Eventually we did, but so about the only show that really came in was the CW, the only channel. So I actually watched a lot of Sex and the City. Like, I'm very well versed on Sex and the City, know mostly about it because it came in. It came in good. It looked really clear. Watched a lot of Smallville on there, and then I watched a lot of Supernatural. First couple of seasons, I liked those. They were a little bit spookier. They dealt with the spook, the ghosts and things like that. Then they ended up getting into more of the demons on there. So I know that Sam becomes really powerful, like angel level powerful later on, but that's where I'm aware of it, but I never watched. I've watched maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons. So I'm gonna go with Dean back then, just because like he's the older, kind of cool voice and that kind of stuff. Where Sam's just kind of like a whiny little shit still. But I know that Sam ends up coming back and becoming a big, like he's a lot more powerful than Dean. But I'm gonna go with Dean. That's who I know. How about you? You can answer me in chat if you want to. If we drop out of here. All right. So I'm gonna drop out. Again, thank you all for all the questions, Tito. Thank you everyone that hung out with me. Dean for life, nice. We'll probably do this again sometime on there if you guys want to. I don't have a problem doing it. It's like, if you guys want to do it, I'll do it. If you don't care, that's fine by me too. I don't take offense. Anyway, Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.